Test, test, 1, 2, test. This is not working now. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Test, test, 1, 2.
Good evening. Welcome to this special meeting of the North Kingstown Town Council. Pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-6C, notice of this meeting has been posted in the Secretary of State's website. I'd ask everyone to join us as we rise and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, just a quick housekeeping note. We are here tonight at a school facility, so the meeting is being broadcast on their network through YouTube. It'll be uploaded on the North Kingstown Granicus network tomorrow, okay? So I just want to make you aware of that. So we're here tonight because we all have a shared purpose in protecting the health and safety of the North Kingstown residents. And we have that purpose above everything else we do. I want to share with you tonight what we know, want to learn from one another, want to listen, respond to your concerns. Current developments that have been happening in and around our community are so concerning that we called this special meeting. In addition, we also invited the legislative delegation to be here. There is too much at stake. I'm going to start with a brief history on issues raised at town council meetings in the last few weeks. Hear from others up here on what they know, and then hear your input, and then based on that, we'll go from there. At the March 2nd town council meeting, town residents Vanessa Mascaro and Alyssa Knapp and others came forward to complain about a smell out of West Davisville. They believed it was coming from the Bitumar facility that was near them across Devil's Foot Road. According to them, there was a strong smell of asphalt, and they made numerous complaints to QDC and to DEM. We're not satisfied with their responses, so they came to our meeting to express their concerns. After hearing their concerns, the council directed the solicitor to draft a letter to DEM for us to approve at a future meeting. In addition, after the meeting, the town reached out to Bitumar to let the company know about our concerns. Bitumar has been somewhat responsive and is willing to work with the town to resolve the issue, or at least so they say. At the March 23rd meeting, town council meeting, we reported back about our conversations with Bitumar to the public, and we let them know at the time that Bitumar is willing to host an event in North Kingstown with a tentative date of April 30th. In addition, the council formally authorized our solicitor to send a letter to DEM about concerns raised by the residents. At the meeting, even more citizens came out. And they not only had concerns about Bitumar, but they also about concerns about a proposed battery facility near the golf course in Quonset and a pyrolysis plant for sewage sludge processing in West Davisville. Resident Jason Bergenstock read from a portion of a permit application from DEM from the pyrolysis plant company in his testimony. Former Senator Jim Sheen talked about legislation he put in years ago at the State House when he was a state senator to give North Kingstown a voice on the Quonset Development Board. And he wanted to know why we did not know about this. Every citizen at the meeting was concerned. While the town council has 2 of 11 seats on the board at Quonset, and our representatives voted against the proposal, the information relative to what the proposal was only disclosed in executive session. Okay. Under Rhode Island Open Meetings Law, information disclosed in the executive session is confidential and cannot be disclosed until it is no longer sensitive. As a consequence, no one else on the council, outside of our appointees, knew that this proposed facility was happening until it was disclosed at the March 23rd meeting. After hearing these concerns, all of us on stage went to work to find out more about this project and what we can do about it. Many of us have had discussions with the governor. I know the town manager has, myself, his staff, leadership at the General Assembly, and the Quonset Development Board. Personally, I even tried to rope our congressional delegation into this issue. We're having this unscheduled meeting for a couple reasons. Number one, to update you, to listen to you, and to act on how we can protect our community's best interests. Before I get into the specific projects, I want to let you know that over the last 6 to 7 years, we have not had Quonset on our agenda as a regular item. To date, there hasn't been a problem with that. Clearly, that now has to change, and we will have a regular agenda item on the town council for Quonset. Now, for the issues. Bitumar, talk about Bitumar first. Over the last 24 to 48 hours, we received a number of complaints about the smell of asphalt around that area. I know others have done this, but my wife and I drove over there to the facility, and we couldn't smell anything on Compass Circle, but we could smell a lot on International Drive. So this is a problem that we definitely have to address. And to that end, Senator Valverde, who is not here due to illness, contacted DEM yesterday, and they informed her they'd be at the facility today. As of right now, I don't have the results of what they discovered or didn't discover. They also committed to doing a full compliance inspection in the very near future. Previously, we said that Bitumar was willing to host a community forum in North Kingstown, and I can report tonight to the citizens of North Kingstown that the date that we'll do that is April 30th. That's a confirmed date. Further details on how this forum will take place are forthcoming, but that is new information. I know that, well, I'm going to ask I know Senator DeMario and Valverde and I met with DEM on Friday, and I would ask Senator DeMario to comment on that.
Thank you. And you want me right now just to confine my remarks just regarding the Bitumar discussion?
Just Bitumar.
Great. First of all, thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight, and thank you to the Town Council for inviting me to come and attend and participate in this discussion. So as Mr. Mancini just mentioned, Senator Valverde and myself and Mr. Mancini met with representatives from the Department of Environmental Management on Friday to discuss a number of issues, including the asphalt plant. They were receptive to the feedback that we were giving, and they went through kind of what the different mechanisms that they have to be able to go out and take a look and measure what's going on. And as was mentioned, they committed to doing a full compliance inspection, as well as being able to deploy some of the other mechanisms that they have for being able to monitor odors. In addition, in that discussion, they were able to share some insight around another asphalt plant that operates in the state of Rhode Island in the Port of Providence that historically has also received a large number of odor complaints from residents in the area. And that actually was able to be mitigated through the process of an additive that was added to the asphalt that has cut down those odor complaints. And so they are doing some further research to determine whether or not that was something that the City of Providence worked to compel this company to do, or whether that was something that the company did on their own, but that is also an avenue that we are exploring.
Thank you. I was remiss in probably not introducing everybody up here, because I don't know if everyone can see up here, but we have the entire town council. To my far left, Councilman McCoy, Councilwoman Drew, to my right, Councilwoman Beth Hill Ross, President Pro Tem Kim Page, Town Manager Ralph Mollis, Town Solicitor James Callahan, Senator DeMario, Representative Craven, Representative Casimiro, and Representative Finkelman from Jamestown, who has expressed a desire to be here. Representative Casimiro, do you want to add anything on this?
I do. When it comes, I'm here specifically for the paralysis part, but I was at Bichemar today around noontime, and the odor was prevalent, and they were fully operational. So whatever QDC is saying is not fully operational, they are, and it does smell. So I just want to go on the record of saying that.
Okay.
So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone on the council want to comment on Bichemar? Okay, and how about Mr. Ralph? Did we cover everything on Bichemar, or do you want to comment on Bichemar?
I feel we did. I feel so. There's nothing more to cover on that, and we'll be in touch with Quonset along with all of the council.
Okay, and then so we're going to go on to the next two items: hear public comment, and then possibly act. Okay. So the next issue we looked into was the battery storage facility. That facility was approved through a public process. It is located near the golf course, away from residents. It was approved by the State Fire Marshal's office. We had asked them to come tonight. They have not yet responded. But it's my understanding, I'm no expert, this facility is designed differently than some of the facilities that have had explosive fires. In addition, let me go back. My understanding, this facility is designed to have small insulated compartments to insulate or protect itself from potential outbreak of large fires. But as a practical matter, okay, we need facilities like this in order to stabilize our grid and stabilize our energy prices. Quite frankly, to make them affordable. We need energy storage on off-peak as well as peak hours. Otherwise, we're going to have to continue to rely on out-of-state dirty fossil fuels that now have very unstable pricing. So that's my position on that. I don't know how others feel. I don't know if anyone on the council wants to comment on that project.
I think we're all sharing.
Okay. If not, I know that Senator D'Amato, you may want to comment on it. Okay.
Sure, thank you. Just to reiterate what Mr. Mancini was just saying, in terms of a statewide grid stabilization solution, battery storage is a proven technology to help both with reliability. So in the case of when demand is high and we need a flexible, dispatchable resource, energy that is stored in these large-scale battery facilities from renewables, when the renewables are over-generating, can be used during that time to help reduce the amount of fossil fuels, particularly natural gas, that our grid is drawing upon to keep the system going. So it is a flexible tool that can be used both for reliability and also one that is much less expensive than firing up the coal plants or using some of our dirtier fossil fuel sources during those high demand times. And again, this is technology that has been proven elsewhere, and with the advances in that compartmentalized system, it also reduces the chance of any type of fire or concerning event that might happen.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else in the delegation want to add? Sure.
I'd like to add to that too. I initially had concern about the battery storage facility, but knowing that fire service has signed off on it, I feel a lot better about that now. So my concern doesn't lie there. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Next or last is the QSS Biosolids, proposed QSS Biosolids project. As I previously mentioned, at the last council meeting is when virtually all of us heard about this for the first time. And since that time, we've been working nonstop. There's been a lot of developments even today. And I'm going to suggest that we let the town manager lead off on the developments, if that's okay, because you received correspondence. I think you're the first person to receive correspondence from the state. So.
Yes, so my pleasure. So thank you, Mr. President. So first, and I'll be brief. The council knows that or the public also knows that I'm here for any questions, so happy to answer any questions you may have. I also want to say that this has been, for all of us, including you in the crowd, a whirlwind week. And it just goes to show what the combination of the efforts of everybody here in the dais and this outstanding crowd here this evening, it shows what we can accomplish by coming together. And we can only hope that in the end, by us working together, and I'm sure with the efforts of those here and those out there, that we can hopefully reach our mission of putting a stop to this. Also, I have to say that I feel it benefits, and the council knows I feel this way because we work a lot with Quonset. I think it benefits Quonset in all of Rhode Island if they can continue to do what they have to do to be a valuable partner with North Kingstown and not let these issues change that. And so I really feel it's to their benefit. I say that because I am confident that they and their various firms that they work with are watching this evening, and I truly feel that it benefits them and all of Rhode Island if we can resolve these issues and continue being a good partner with North Kingstown. Over the last week, I, along with many members of this podium here, I've talked to Steve King of Quonset. I've talked to the General Assembly leadership. I've talked to the governor's staff and the governor, and I was very clear that the council and the leadership here in my office wants to put a halt to this project, at least until we can begin receiving some public information. Hopefully a permanent halt, but we need to stop progress now in order for us to make this more public. And I say that because that leads to the letter that I'm about to mention. I also talked to the mayor of Woonsocket, had a very good conversation with him, and we've been talking about this very diligently with internal staff. Our planning director, fire chief, police chief, internal staff have been involved in a lot of Quonset construction. So it's been, again, a very knowledgeable and valuable week. I think we've made a lot of progress thanks to a lot of people up here and all of you, of course, and hopefully we're on our way to accomplishing what we need to accomplish. With that said, after speaking with the governor on Thursday and Friday, and speaking with the governor's staff on Thursday and reiterating our concerns, the governor then sent out a letter late Friday night to myself, Vin Messalella, who is the chairman of the Narragansett Bay Commission, Mark DiPasquale, and that he is the managing member of QSS Biosolids LLC, and then Stephen King, who is the managing director and CEO at Quonset. And just bear with me, it's a quick letter, but I will read it. So, dear Mr. Marlis, Messalella, DiPasquale, and King, recently a number of parties have been in contact with my office with respect to the facility proposed for development at the Quonset Business Park, designed to be part of the solution to Rhode Island's waste treatment challenges. It is my understanding that the facility and the Narragansett Bay Commission will enter into or have entered into certain arrangements or agreements pursuant to which the facility will process dewatered biosolids to be dewatered off-site, but not at Quonset in the future. Notwithstanding that certain public meetings have already taken place, recent contact with my office suggests information concerning matters such as permitting, timing, the nature of the proposed technology to be utilized, and the quality of life issues would be welcomed by the community. Given the above, it is my sense that transparency will be helpful in order to provide residents with a full and complete understanding of the facility and its impact. I urge all of you to collaborate and cooperate in furnishing this information through public meetings and workshops, fully open to the community and its leaders, with participation by qualified experts. Making available to the community those business leaders and experts involved with the facility will answer many of the questions being raised by residents and allow for the type of scrutiny so necessary to a project of this importance. Please reach out to each other and establish the process set forth above in order to fully inform the community. Members of my administration are available to discuss with community leaders any issues related to permitting and other pertinent matters. Sincerely, Daniel McKee, Governor of the State of Rhode Island. And so with that, we've already initiated reaching out to these individuals. I've already received one response from Narragansett Bay Commission, and the goal is to, again, utilize Quonset to join us and make this issue transparent. So we, as a community, can get our questions answered, get our concerns addressed, and hopefully in the end put a stop to this, but at the very least be more informed about what is taking place. And so this is just, again, Mr. President, members of the council, and I know I join all of you because we've done this all week, is that this is what's been taking place, especially over the last 72 hours in talking with the governor and the governor's staff, Steve King, General Assembly leadership, and so many others. I know this is just one step. You'll hear a bunch more tonight. One step that's being taken to hopefully accomplish the mission of all of you out there and all of us up here. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. You may have to do that in a couple of minutes.
Sure.
I would ask that Representative Julie Casimiro to respond. I know that's her district. So.
Thank you, Councilman Mancini. Thank you, Mr. Marlis, for your words. Everyone should be outraged about what Mr. Mollis just read, and it's not Mr. Mollis's fault. The governor could have shut this down today, and he didn't do it. Elections have consequences, and this is one of them. He could have shut this down. I do want to say that the lack of transparency is beyond outrageous. Over the last 10 days, this has consumed my life. I voiced our concerns to the governor. I spoke with the public relations firm for QDC. I spoke with the board chair. I've been waiting to hear for a meeting with the CEO of QDC. He's, by the way, on vacation. I spoke several times to the Speaker of the House, and literally 13 times today he called me. I've asked him for an oversight hearing on QDC. But I want to also acknowledge a couple of people in the room. Representative Terry Quatrevan is here tonight, and she's part of the press release that the Speaker released today about her study commission on sludge. She also has with her Tara Lombardi from the House Policy Office. And then in the back of the room is Representative Joe Solomon. There's a great deal of outrage in our chamber right now about what's going on. In 2000, by the way, I have drafted legislation that will stop this, and I will be happy to file it. I don't want to have to go that way. I don't want to have to go that route. I want QDC to do the right thing, because we've trusted QDC to do the right thing for a really long time, but they're failing us miserably. This has been a huge breach of trust for the community. In 2007, the General Assembly gave power to the QDC to help them expedite shovels in the ground, but this power is now being abused. These deals are happening behind closed doors and without public vetting. This is not acceptable. I'm ready to file a second bill that will take the power away from QDC, and my chamber is going to be making it a priority for them. The Speaker's... If you haven't seen it yet, I would encourage you to go onto social media, because I know it's been posted there for a couple of hours, but the Speaker's putting his all behind this study commission, and he's asking for a moratorium, and he's asking this town council to support it, to pass a resolution that will put a moratorium until at least this study commission is done, which would be January of 2027. So I'm encouraging this council and all of its members to please, please, please pass that resolution.
Representative, is it your view or the Speaker's view that the resolution that's in the public right now accomplishes that objective?
We haven't, I didn't see the resolution yet.
That's fine.
So I don't think the Speaker has seen it either, but I will certainly run it by him tomorrow. But in his press release, he puts the decisions back with the General Assembly, and I think that's where it really needs to be right now, because Quonset has breached our trust.
So are you saying, Representative, is the decision of these type of plants now in the will be in the General Assembly's hands?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Senator DeMario, do you want to?
Absolutely, thank you. And thank you, Representative Casimiro, both for your work on this, for all of our consistent communication, and also for your very obvious dedication and passion for standing up for your community. So as Councilman Mancini mentioned, I am here representing not only myself and the part of North Kingstown that is part of my district, which is roughly everything east of Post Road, but I am also here to represent my colleague in the Senate, Senator Valverde, who represents the part of North Kingstown in West Davisville where this site is proposed. And she couldn't be here with us tonight due to illness, but I will just take this opportunity to provide a little bit of historical context about the issue of pyrolysis in the Senate in particular. And I want to bring us back to 5 years ago in 2021 when there was a proposed medical waste pyrolysis facility that was going to be sited on the border of East Greenwich, which she represents, and West Warwick. And I do just want to highlight that Senator Valverde was the champion in the Senate that was able to successfully stop that facility. And so this is not an issue that is new to her. In addition, in my time in the Senate, we have considered legislation around allowing for plastic pyrolysis as a solution to our recycling and plastic waste problems. Because that technology is unvetted and the health effects were unknown, that was also something that Senator Valverde and I staunchly opposed, and ultimately that did not pass. I mention this historical context because these are issues, again, that are not unfamiliar to us, and as these alarms have been raised and as this project came to light, we knew that this was highlighting deficits in the ways that our current regulatory structure works and in our current laws about trying to regulate these facilities. If this was allowed to get to the point that it got to, including being able to obtain one permit from DEM with no public input and no public knowledge, that highlights a flaw in our system that we need to address, and that is something that, along with our partners in the House, we're going to be pursuing, not just for this project, but to make sure that any such projects are properly vetted, that they are given the opportunity for public hearing and testimony, and also that we have information ahead of time before all of a sudden this is sprung on us that a project is going to be sited in an area, especially so close to residential neighborhoods. I also just want to piggyback on what Rep. Casimiro was saying about the study commission of Rep. Cortvrend, and I appreciate her attendance here today, because the larger context of what we are going to do with our solid wastewater and the biosolids or the sludge that are the result of that is also not a new conversation. We've known for a while that the Woonsocket incinerator is not a sustainable solution, and we also have had mounting evidence that the issue with PFAS or forever chemicals, which many citizens raised at last week's town council meeting as an issue here, is not something that's going away. That presents a unique challenge of how we are able to responsibly dispose of our wastewater byproducts. That is something that, as a state, we need something like Rep. Cortvrend's study commission to be able to come up with a planful, thoughtful, transparent solution to. This is not something that is going to be solved by a backroom deal where we have no idea what the costs are going to be to water utility ratepayers for this service. We have no idea of the capacity. We have no idea of whether or not this facility is going to continue to meet the needs of Rhode Island or if it's going to shift focus and meet the needs of another state's wastewater sludge. We need to come up with a planful process and not just kind of have these patchwork things happening behind closed doors. And so Senator Valverde and I are also committed to supporting the work of that study commission and ensuring that whatever plan is come up with for the state is something that is done with transparent, widespread public input and not something that just unfolds behind closed doors. I do have more information, happy to answer more questions, but I'm going to leave it there for now.
No, that's very thorough. Representative Casimiro, did you want to add?
I do.
You may want to read, because I don't know how many people have this in hand. I know it's on social media.
I did not pass it out or anything like
No,
that.
I didn't expect you to, but
Yeah.
you may want to just read it to the audience.
It's kind of long. But before
Well, we got a couple minutes.
you told me I had limited time. But anyway, there's a woman in the back of the room right now holding up a green sign that says, "Thanks, Vanessa." And if Vanessa didn't do her homework, none of us would be here. So thanks, Vanessa.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Okay, I'm just going to be brief. I'm not going to read it word for word, but Speaker Sakachi announces support for Commission to address Rhode Island's biosolids disposable challenges. Speaker Sakachi is getting 100% behind Representative Cortvrend's study commission. It was introduced on February 6th. It hasn't been voted on, but I'm sure he's going to be making this a priority this week. He also announced that stakeholders involved in this proposed sludge management pyrolysis facility at Quonset Park have agreed to participate in a public review of the project as part of the commission process. And we just hope to find a solution that ensures all municipalities have access to reliable and affordable disposable options. One thing that I do want to work with Rep. Cortvrend on is making sure that someone we have someone from North Kingstown on this commission. I think I might have identified someone this morning, and she and I have talked already about it, but I do want to make sure that we have someone from NK on this one.
I think you have the influence to get that done. Thank you. Rep. Craven, do you want to add anything to what's been added?
Yeah, thank you, members of the public and the dais up here. This is about 2 weeks known to me, although I had known about the asphalt smell for about a month or so, and I went directly by cell phone to the director of the QDC. He said he was unaware of any of those smells and would investigate it and get back to me immediately. I'm still waiting. But I'll be concise. There are legal avenues, there are legislative avenues, and there are political avenues to stop this. We will use every tool in the toolbox.
Rep. Finkelman, if you want to, he's Rep. Finkelman is from Jamestown, and he's very concerned about this, and appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Apparently the folks at the QDC didn't realize the wind blows from east to west because it comes right over our way too. So it's a problem, and it's unacceptable. The senator referenced the pyrolysis plant 5 years ago, was it? They tried to sell it to us as advanced recycling. It's a sales pitch. If you read the permit that they submitted for the air permit to the DEM that's on the QDC website, I'm not an engineer, I'm not an environmental scientist, but there are a few things that jumped out at me. The release of dioxins, the release of ammonia, and then they show a map of where it could go with a weather study that they used for the last 5 years' weather history. Well, I'll tell you, about a month ago, we had a 50-year storm that really did some damage that probably wasn't factored into that study. So we need the facts, the data, and we need to stop it. So I'll be fighting alongside my colleagues here to do everything we can. Thank you.
Senator Jamara, did you want to say something else?
Just one other thing, and actually piggybacking on what Representative Craven just mentioned, I was wondering about the possibility of the town trying to connect with specifically an environmental attorney, if that would be a possibility.
I think that is something that we can act upon, we can look into. Yeah, I appreciate the suggestion, and what I'd like to do is, give us any more information, give the public any more information, hear from the public. We're going to look at the resolution, and we can possibly act on that, depending on if it's a will of this body, which I suspect it would be, and really suggest to the town manager that authorize the town manager to do something along those lines. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
So I think, unless anyone else from the council wants to say anything else, or the town manager, Ralph, do you want to say anything else?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Again, I'm here to help with the council and answer any questions, and I think hopefully everyone here is realizing that you have all of your elected officials and appointed officials on the same page with you in making sure that we put a stop to this for our community. So I'm here to answer any questions, and I look forward to listening tonight. So thank you. Okay. If I can get the sign-up sheet, I guess Sue is walking back to get it. Who people want to speak? Oh, Joel's got it. Thank you, Joel. So for those of you who have been here, or at least to a town council meeting, I suspect many of you have not, we ask everyone to keep their comments to 3 minutes. We are flexible on that. We don't try to hold people back from making the last points. I would just say, we want to hear everything you have to say. If you have questions, we will try to answer them, and if it goes over 3 minutes, it goes over 3 minutes. If we cannot answer them, we have a pad over there with a pen, and you want to write down your question, we will get you an answer. If someone makes your point, you either don't need to testify, or you can testify, or just say, I agree with John Smith or Jane Doe, however you want to do it. But I want to try to move this along, so I want to make sure everyone says what they want to say, but I also want to move this along. So I'm going to call a bunch of names, and I'm going to ask that you line up in the aisle, and then we'll move this along if that's okay. Okay? So I think the first person to sign up is Vanessa Mascaro. So we'll do her, Jim Sheen. You can go right up there, Vanessa. You're going to be right there. John Dower, Richard Welch,
Kayla Van Gordon, Jenna Steele, Sean Taylor, Liz Stern, and we'll stop there for now. If they could line up, that'd be great.
Is it working? Oh, yeah.
It is.
Ready to go? All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Vanessa Mascaro at 21 Parkside Way. So today I want to speak to mostly the residents. I mean, thank you all for all the work you're putting in. Specifically, Julie, you have been on this since the beginning, and I really appreciate that. I think that's part of the reason we're here today, so thank you. But this is a moment for clarity aside from just action. So there's been way too many decisions that have affected our community that have been made without our knowledge, without our input, and without the transparency we deserve. So when actions are taken behind the backs of residents, it doesn't just raise questions, it undermines trust. And we're seeing the real-world impact of that right now. Between Bitumar operation and the proposed sludge facility, we are being asked yet again to accept heavy industrial uses directly next to residential neighborhoods. And this raises a fundamental question. When did Quonset become the place where anything goes? Quonset should not be a dumping ground for the region's dirtiest industries. Especially when there's families living just beyond its borders. And that's why now is the time to play offense, and not out of anger, but out of responsibility. We must call for a full and independent investigation, starting at the governor's office and continuing all the way down. Every level must be reviewed, every action must be examined, and nothing should be off limits. The concerns surrounding the QDC board are pretty serious, and this isn't about politics, it's about accountability. It's making sure that decisions are made in the open, with the people of North Kingstown being fully informed and our quality of life respected. We're not asking for anything unreasonable. We're asking for honesty, for transparency, and for leadership that remembers who it serves. North Kingstown is a strong community, and strong communities don't stay silent when something feels wrong. Now is the time to stand together, demand answers, and ensure that our voices are heard. And when we do get those answers, we owe it to this community to take a hard look at how we got here to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Thank you.
So for the record, I just ask you to state your name and your address, okay?
Former State Senator Jim Sheehan, 40 Blueberry Lane, North Kingstown. Dear colleagues in government, I applaud the actions of many of you that have been doing a lot of work, a lot of hard work, especially...
Maybe I want to put that up so people can hear you.
Especially Julie Casimiro. Thank you. North Kingstown has faced threats before, each one with the potential to harm our town's health, safety, and quality of life. In the 1970s, a nuclear power plant was proposed at Rome Point. In the 1990s, a massive regional incinerator was planned for Quonset. Likewise, in the 2000s, a mega container port was proposed there as well. Each time, the community was informed, organized, and able to fight it back. Each time, we prevailed. Despite those battles, North Kingstown has worked in good faith with the Quonset Development Corporation to build a successful business park. Yet, our partnership with Quonset still brought sacrifice and cost to our community, including legacy contamination from the Navy, a state airport and guard base, heavy truck traffic, a major port, wastewater treatment, industrial operations, on and on. So, this is not NIMBYism. It's about respect and being treated as a partner, not a dumping ground. That's why it is deeply concerning that the QDC approved a lease for Quonset Soil Solutions back in November 2024 with no general public awareness or participation. The rudimentary nature of this project, at minimum, should have been public information. You're not giving away any state secrets if you do that, particularly when they actually applied for a DEM permit. Because of this lack of transparency, we are up against it. One critical permit has already been approved with apparently no opposition to it voiced. This proposed sewage sludge plant, processing tens of thousands of tons annually, would be located near neighborhoods and schools, one of which my daughter attends. It poses a serious risk to our quality of life and how our town is perceived. We need a strong, coordinated, and united response. I have some suggestions for your consideration, although they've been bandied about. This is a good group, good brainstorming session, retaining experience, legal and technical expertise, scrutinize any permitting that has to come through the town to make sure the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, continue to engage with the General Assembly in trying to halt this project from going forward, and engage similar-minded nonprofit and citizen groups who share our concerns, while keeping the public informed every step of the way. North Kingstown has stood up to challenges before, and we can do it again, but only if we act quickly, strategically, and together. It's time to fight for NK. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Richard Welch, 8 Arrow Lane, North Kingstown. First of all, notice was given by the QDC board in their own records back 2024. How did we not know what was going on? We had 2 representatives there. The vote was not unanimous. The 2 representatives voted against it. But yet, no information was given to our town. For anyone to tell me that the members of the council at that time were not aware of what was going on, I'm sorry, I can't believe that. That's wishful thinking. I would tell you that anybody that's on that committee that represents our town should be replaced. I spoke today with one of the business owners in the park that would be affected by the sludge proposition. Totally unaware of it. Been there for eons, almost as long as I've been in town, which is over 40 years, and yet knew nothing about what is being proposed. I would tell you that the businesses that have invested millions of dollars, like EB, like Torrey, in building plant and facilities, are their employees going to want to live with this? I mean, we're looking at it from residential point of view. But think about the employers and the people that have invested millions of dollars to hire people from Rhode Island that pay taxes, and they're going to have to work in that situation. I think they will be up in arms once they know what's going on. It's not just us, it's them too. I'm disappointed with the action or lack of by this town council. There's only one person out of the 5 up there that has made any effort whatsoever to let us know what's going on through Facebook. I don't know what else you can find. And I believe that the town council ought to start going to the QDC board meetings so they know what the hell is going on. The last thing I'll say is I understand that the battery will relocate the fire station. Our fire station on the base is not only a fire station, it's a maintenance facility and it's a storage facility for town records. Are we going to get all those things in the replacement fire station? Or are we just going to get a fire station? And where do we do our maintenance? And where do we store our records? Thank you.
John Dower.
Good evening, everybody. My name is John Dower. I live at 35 Ipswich Boulevard. I'd like to first commend you all for doing a fairly dramatic pivot from last week, and I commend you drawing all of the other people in here. No, it had to happen. Didn't we know this was going to happen? We knew this was going to happen. All right, let me get to my points here. So as the town council knows from my correspondence last week, this is not just a clean air issue. This QSS plant will sit in the watershed recharge area for our only water in the town. This will affect everybody in North Kingstown. Let's go to 1988. The North Kingstown Town Council, along with the East Greenwich Town Council, petitioned the EPA to declare that the HAP aquifer, which is our aquifer, be designated as a sole source aquifer. And I quote, "There are no viable alternatives of a sufficient supply, and if contamination were to occur, it would pose a significant public health hazard and serious financial burden to the area's residents." Could that be a concern in 1988 and not a concern today? Sanford, Maine. Has anybody here heard of Sanford, Maine? They're going through the same exact thing right now. But they've got a big advantage. The company proposing the pyrolysis plant there had another one in Linden, New Jersey that was closed up in December of last year. It wasn't working. They ran out of money. They couldn't afford the repairs. They had too many complaints. We don't want to be a Linden test here, finding out that this new technology doesn't work. I'm going to leave you with this one last thought, and a few people have brought this up already. I want you to take a step towards showing us how committed you are to this. This is a very serious project, and you're behind the game right now. You really are. I think you need to bring in a professional environmental legal group. Earth Justice. earthjustice.org. Look it up. It's the most premier environmental legal organization in the country. 600 people on the staff, over 200 attorneys. And I was going to say, you might have to open up the pocketbook, but you don't. They're a nonprofit. They have so much money, they don't know what to do with it. So please do this commitment. Bring somebody else in that knows all of the legal, the scientific, and everything else. Take the pressure off yourselves. Do the right thing here. Thank you.
Kyla?
Good evening, members of Senator, Representative, members of the Town Council, and members of our community. My name is Kayla Van Gordon, and I live at 25 Jerry Lane in North Kingstown. I stand before you as a lifelong resident of North Kingstown and now a teacher in this community. This town is not just where I live, it's where I grew up, where I received my K-12 education, and where I am an educator today. It's part of who I am, and that is why I feel such a deep responsibility to speak tonight. Many of the members on this council may recognize me from my involvement in the North Kingstown Youth Commission, the North Kingstown Prevention Coalition, the school department, and the North Kingstown Recreation Facilities. Through those experiences, I have seen firsthand that this council cares deeply about children and families in this town. I am hopeful that you will keep them at the center of any decision you make in regards to the projects put forward. As a teacher, my first and foremost priority is the well-being of my students and their families, and this project raises serious concerns about air quality and health. Facilities like this can release pollutants such as particulate matter, nitrogen oxide, sulfur compounds, volatile organic compounds, all substances linked to respiratory issues, cardiovascular problems, and long-term health risks, especially for children, and especially for the children whose schools are in the area that would be affected. Sewage sludge is not harmless. It contains PFAS, or forever chemicals, as well as heavy metals, industrial chemicals, and even pharmaceutical residue. These contaminants do not simply disappear in processing. They enter our air, our soil, and even our water. There are also real quality of life impacts. Communities near similar facilities report strong, persistent odors that extend well beyond site boundaries. Some of the site boundaries, again, in this project are within the school ranges. That affects how families and children live day to day and whether or not kids have the ability to play outside or walk to school, and if residents can enjoy their homes that they have purchased in our town. When we consider this proposal alongside the battery storage facility, it becomes even more concerning. We are asked to accept multiple high-impact facilities, each with their own risk, in the same community. That is not responsible planning. That is placing an unfair burden on one town. North Kingstown should not be a place where all these risks are concentrated. We must also consider what it means for the town as a whole. Becoming the regional sludge processing site raises concerns about property value and the message that we're sending to members of our community. It is also fair to ask, why should our town bear the burden of processing waste across the region? This is not a technical decision, it is a moral one. It is about protecting our environment, our health, and most importantly, our children. This community is asking you to take action and protect those things. North Kingstown is and always will be worth protecting, and I urge you to listen to this community and work to reject this project. Thank you.
I would like Jim Norton, Joe Texera, Ricky Thompson, Brian Cooper, and Holly Quinn, if they could, they're going to be after these speakers, if they can get in line, I'd appreciate it. Jenna?
Yep. Good evening, elected officials and my community. My name is Jenna Steele from 9 Pine River Drive, North Kingstown. I'm here tonight to speak in strong opposition of these 3 projects before you, one being the Asphalt company, one being the battery storage, and one being the biosolids. This issue is not abstract for me. I'm currently living with multiple sclerosis and cancer. My immune system is compromised and my health depends heavily on the quality of air I breathe and the environment I live in. What you decide has very real consequences for people like me. Facilities like Bitmar are known to release fine particles, matters, volatile organic compounds. These pollutants are directly linked to respiratory diseases, cardiovascular problems, and increased cancer risk. PM 2.5 is especially dangerous because it enters deep into the lungs and the bloodstream. For someone like me and many others in this community, even small increases in exposure can have serious life-threatening effects. The proposed battery storage facility also raises a major safety concern. Lithium-ion battery fires can release toxic gases such as hydrogen fluoride. These incidents are not theoretical and have happened. They require evacuations and emergency responses, and who's going to pay for that? Exposure to these gases can cause severe respiratory damage and long-term health complications. And biosolids facility like the QSS biosolids brings a risk of their own also. They can release pathogens, heavy metals, PFAS, the forever chemical, that accumulate in the body and the environment, and that has been linked to cancer, immune suppression, and developmental harm. For someone already fighting serious illness, this is not a risk I can afford, and neither can many others in this town. What ties all of these proposals together is a preventable risk to our air, our water, and our health. I'm asking you to think about the most vulnerable people in this community, and the elderly, the children, and those of us already dealing with serious medical conditions. We should not have to choose between staying in our homes and protecting our health. Please prioritize the health and safety of your residents. Do not move forward with these projects unless they can be proven to be completely safe. Once the damage is done, it cannot be undone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jenna. Sean Taylor.
Hello, good evening. My name is Sean Taylor, and I live at 225 Seawinds Drive in Reynolds Farm. I'm speaking regarding the QSS Biosolids proposed project. I've heard a lot about letters, talking, and action in the works. I thank you for that all, and sincerely, but respectfully, it is well past the time for doing. I am speaking tonight to inform the council and the community that I intend to file a formal petition for a declaratory ruling with the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management by the end of the week. This petition will challenge the minor source, which maybe you should put minor in quotes there, permit that was given to them. My petition focuses on what I believe to be substantial omissions and glaring factual discrepancies within the minor source permit application submitted by QSS Biosolids. These discrepancies include repetition of a mistaken opinion that pyrolysis, as they use it, is not combustion and their system is not an incinerator. I believe both of these opinions to be false. I've sent an email to the council and most of the body up here with details and a draft of that petition. I urge you, look at it. It's serious, and I think it has a good chance of working. It is vital, in my opinion, that the town asserts itself and secures its legal standing before a decision is handed down from the DM on this, so that our community's interests are protected and should an appeal be necessary. I highly encourage you to legally intervene in this matter once I have filed. When I first learned of this project, my primary concern was technological. We were looking at a sophisticated sequential technology stack with very little demonstrated long-term success. However, after a deep and exhaustive review of their application, my concerns have shifted substantially. The documentation paints a picture of an entity focused on avoiding at least 3 federal regulations and a state regulation, rules that were specifically implemented to protect the environment and the health of residents. This clear and aggressive approach to attempt legal circumvention of emission standards changes the narrative in my eyes. This is not the profile of a forward-thinking company profiting off of genuine environmental progress. Instead, we're haunted by the perception of a capitalist venture bent on selling the equivalent of environmental snake oil to the detriment of everyone living around it. Public outcry against this facility is growing. I sincerely hope that both the QDC and QSS take immediate goodwill steps to rectify this. But as it stands right now, the public outrage is entirely justified, and frankly, it should have been easy to predict. Again, I'm formally asking this body to consider intervening in this matter to preserve the town's legal standing in advance of the declaratory ruling. This is an ask. Consider it, please.
Yeah, just send us a copy of the complaint.
And for the love of God, hire an environmental lawyer, because I never want to research or write something like this ever again. Thank you for your time.
Liz?
My name is Liz Stearns. I live at 63 High Bank Avenue in North Kingstown, Rhode Island. I had questions that I had written down, but so many eloquent speakers before me have covered everything. I would just like to say that, as is evidenced here, I am a North Kingstown resident among many other who's very willing to stand up and fight for my home and my community. Thank you.
If you have any questions that have not been answered, you want to email us, we will do our best to resolve. Okay. Yep. Jim Norton, please.
Hi, I'm Jim Norton. I live on Gosnell Road in North Kingstown. I could actually spend a half hour explaining how Gosnell got its name, but I won't.
3 minutes.
I just wanted to make a couple of points, and I didn't prepare a talk, really. And that is that I was involved behind the scenes a lot with Sue Hensler, deceased, state representative. I was involved with George Graham, who was on the council, town council. I think he was the president at the time. And at that time, Governor Sondland didn't just want a incinerator in North Kingstown. at Quonset, he was pushing it down our throat like I can't even begin to tell you. I mean, it was horrible. My job at the time was to follow the money. I felt like I had a contract on my head. But we got good lawyers. We had McSally. I think he was a town attorney at the time. And he had a gentleman, an attorney by the name of Harlan Doliner from Jamestown. When I saw the plans, the engineer plans of how much of the contaminants and carcinogens were going to fall on top of us and our kids, I went crazy. I went all in with my neighbors, and we defeated that in 1994. I woke up like you all did last week, but I was dumbfounded because we also amended the Rhode Island law saying pretty much, I thought, ban incinerators forever. Well, it might be a play on words here. Well, this really isn't an incinerator. But it kind of has a lot of similarities, enough so that we should have been aware of this 2 years ago. Okay? No kidding. Give us a break. On top of a battery, on top of asphalt. What is this? I took a ride Sunday for the first time to look at the area. A lot of apartments, a lot of houses, and a lot of kids. Okay? And so we defeated it then, and we can defeat this now. Okay? We stick together. I'll share one last thing with you. One of the biggest concerns at that time, as I just mentioned, was the air and what was happening with the winds and so forth. That was enough. There were more. I just wanted to say this, that reading about this particular proposed, what I call a sludge incinerator, there seems to be more concern this time than it was in our day about the aquifer and about something maybe possibly that could leak into that aquifer. And I just want to tell you, in 1994, okay, not 1994, I'll be all right. In 1964, I spent 90 days in Camp Lejeune as a Marine. Okay? I got home, I got sick. And I got sick again. I went to the hospital. Went away. I'm still here. 57 years later, I find out there was something in the water. The laundromat and the dry cleaning facilities that used to come on were dumping liquids and carcinogens on top of the aquifer at Camp Lejeune. It took 57 years to figure it out. So I want to say to you is this. No disrespect, audience, but looking at you and myself, you probably won't feel the effects of this proposed incinerator. But your children, your grandchildren will. There are 450,000 claims right now waiting to be settled for Marines. Not to mention at least 200,000 were settled before, maybe another 300,000 have died. A lot of people were affected. I don't want our kids and your kids and our grandchildren to be affected. Stop this thing. Thank you.
Mr. Texera.
Good evening. Joe Texera from 200 Delano Drive. I just want to thank the council for recognizing that we have an issue with the asphalt plant already. So thank you for recognizing that, and I know that you're going to be working on trying to stop that. I also want to thank Julie Casimiro because I think she figured out what I figured out. We have an out-of-control Quonset Development Corporation. We only have 2 reps from North Kingstown, 2 town council members that can attend and vote. There are 11 board members. So, and then we have a town council from Jamestown and one other one, I believe. East Greenwich. So we have 4. So guess what? It's 11 to 4 every day of the week. Okay? So I know Julie wants to go down this road, and I'd like to go down the road with her. We need a redo on the Quonset Development Corporation to give more voters seats on that board. My recommendation is that our state representatives and state senators, which will equal 4, will have voting rights on the Quonset Development Corporation board. So we need to add at least 4 people. Now that's 4 and 2 is 6. And I also would like to have 1 independent or even 2 resident board members. We have to take control back from these people are out of control. How many people know that EB wants to hire 3,200 people this year? How many people know? Raise your hand. That's about 100 out of 500. They want to bring in 3,200 jobs, and they're going to sit and work and train and work hard 8 hours, 10 hours a day and smell sludge? I don't think so. We're not going to let that happen. So those are my recommendations, because we can fix, and Julie, you're absolutely right, we got to stop the sludge deal. Stop it cold. Stop it. I'll be behind you 100%. We got to stop it. We can have all the commissions in the world if you want. You can have a commission to do this, a commission to do that, but we got to stop this sludge. Thank you very much.
Okay, before the next speaker, I'd like to call Liz Powers, Randy Wheatman, Jan McAleer, and Barbara Gavin. If they can get in line behind the folks here. Next speaker is Ricky Thompson.
Ricky Thompson, 194 Plain Road. Good evening. Per your request, I'll avoid repeating anything that's previously been stated.
Can't hear you. You gotta speak.
Can you hear me now?
Speak into it.
Okay.
Yes, you gotta lean down and speak into it.
I'll start over. Ricky Thompson, 194 Plain Road. And per your request, I'll avoid repeating any previous comments. Also advising you that I agree with the previous speakers and their comments. I'll start by saying that I firmly believe that as is, the Bidamar restart up and the sludge facility plans are wrong for NK and should be halted immediately, at least until they're properly investigated. I appreciate that you're going to instigate reports again for QDC. I think that that's real important, and I think that can fill in a lot of the blanks. With that in mind, I would like to ask the following question. Mr. McCoy, please correct me if I'm wrong. In recalling that you previously stated that the Bidamar and or the sludge vote was taken in executive session, if I understand right now, in actuality, the vote was public, meaning that these issues could have been discussed publicly during a council meeting prior to what is happening now. Am I wrong?
The vote on the QSS biosolids ground lease occurred during the public session of the November 19th, 2024 meeting. And at the last town council meeting, I misspoke about it being something during the open meetings or the executive session.
The contents of what that was about the ground lease itself, because I read those minutes, but the information relative to the type of business that was discussed in executive session. So I believe Mr. McCoy didn't tell the council that at the time because it was an executive session. The bitumen, I believe, Mr. McCoy, you want to comment on that?
So bitumen occurred, the discussion about the ground lease for bitumen occurred 21 March of 23. It was originally proposed to be in the port of Davisville, okay, which is down by the piers. It was a unanimous vote, so all the board members who were present approved the proposal as it was proposed. Stephen King and the staff at Quonset, based on the language that was in the proposal, basically had the authority to move it, and they moved it to West Davisville. And they did not come back to the board overtly and say, we're moving it to West Davisville. That's how that went.
What confuses me is that something was done and then changed. Are we going to be able to talk about this during council meetings, or is this something that's just going to happen with QDC and we have no say in it?
So the way things are at Quonset is the staff at Quonset has pretty broad powers once I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying the way it is. So just using bitumen as an example, I believe that Stephen King and the staff should have had to come back before the board and say, we wanted to move this to West Davisville. Instead, if you look at the documentation, basically at every subsequent meeting, there was a thing in the staff notes that just said ongoing projects, bitumen, and it didn't say no details. So, the assumption was that things were proceeding at the Port of Davisville, but not. So that's, he never came back to us and said, hey, I'm moving this to the site at West Davisville. And it wasn't until I got an email from Vanessa, which I believe was the 30th of November of last year, where she was complaining about the smell of asphalt at West Davisville. I think she attributed it to the Timiosi plant in her email. And I forwarded that to Stephen King and the people at Quonset, and they responded to her, I think, the following day. But I wasn't aware that they had moved the bitumen facility over there to West Davisville until that point.
I'm a firm believer of what was done is done. What I'm more concerned about is the future and how we can prevent something like this from happening again. And I don't feel confident that that's what's going to happen.
So again, I will reiterate for the record, okay, that on the 19th of November 2024, myself, the other board member representing North Kingstown, Larry Mandel, and another representative on the board of directors, Adam Lupino, all three of us voted against the QSS solid or biosolids LLC ground lease. I won't speak for them why they voted against it, but I had serious concerns about several aspects, not the least of which was the fact that I felt that this was an inappropriate fit for the town of North Kingstown.
Mr. Thompson, I just want to reiterate the fact that I did ask Speaker Sakachi for an oversight hearing on this topic, and I'm also ready to file legislation that takes back control of QDC.
I want to move this along, so just ask one or two more questions, Mr. Thompson.
I appreciate that, Representative Casimiro, I really do. What concerns me is we're going to have reports during council meetings, and it doesn't seem like we're going to get complete information. Not that you're holding anything back, but we're not going to get complete information. So I'm not sure how we're going to be able to question things at the council meeting based on what you're telling us now.
All right, again for the record, after every single QDC meeting that I attended, I posted on my website every public session meeting minute. The public session meeting minutes for QDC are also posted on the state website. No, because
Ma'am, if you want to ask a question, you can come up here and do it.
So our town is not an official government form of dissemination. So, so the bottom line is that any member of the public who is seriously interested in following what happens to Quonset, just like they can with the school committee or any other kind of body here in Rhode Island, can go to the state's website and pull that information as it's posted. That is for the agenda, that is for the meeting minutes, and anything else that is public record.
Well, we talked about this.
Hold on one second, please. From the audience, let's have one meeting here. Mr. Thompson, we've got a lot of people looking to speak. I ask you to have one more question.
I'll wrap up.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to get an answer, because it doesn't seem like I'm going to get an answer at council meetings of what's happening at QDC. Is that what you're saying?
No, I said it earlier, we're going to put Quonset on the agenda as a regular item, and whoever the representatives will file a report with the council. I'm sure they'll tell you everything that's relevant going on in Quonset, except for items in executive session, this is what happened. This issue came down. Well, that's the law, sir. I mean, what can I tell you? You know, so I have no problem changing the law. But, you know, I mean, so that's what will happen.
If the legislature thinks that the Open Meetings Act should be changed, then it's their responsibility to change it, okay? But until the law is changed, the people who are subject to the Open Meetings Act have to comply with it or suffer the consequences. And so for anything that's discussed during an executive session, whether it be a town council meeting or a QDC meeting, I'm not going to discuss what's discussed in executive session because it's covered and protected under the law. And anyone else in here that's an elected official or an appointed official is subject to the same thing. So if they tell you otherwise, then what they're telling you is that they're willing to violate the law.
I'll end by saying, Ms. Casimiro, thank you again for what you're doing and trying to do. But I'll also tell this council that I don't believe we're going to get good information at council meetings, and I think things are going to proceed without us knowing. That's my perception. I don't accept it, I don't like it, and it needs to change. Thank you.
Mr. Brian Cooper.
Good evening, everybody. I stand here against the sludge processing facility.
So I guess it's where the mic is planted, so just make sure you speak into it. And if you could give us your name and address.
All right.
And
Brian Cooper, 22 Forest Park Drive. I stand here against the processing plant. I'm a licensed and plumber and pipe fitter, and I worked in numerous plants. Worked in the West Warwick one, the Cranston one. Everybody knows what crap smells like. Now, if you're there for 15 or 20 minutes, you're ready to lose your lunch. If you're over at the plant for 15 or 20 minutes, you're ready to lose your lunch. This is houses. There's hundreds of houses, hundreds of apartments, hundreds of condos all around here. I can't understand why we would even want this or even consider it. The wind, 60% of the time, blows southwest, all towards the houses, the condos, and everything. The other 40% blows west. So I stand opposed, and then I see what they do at the other plants. They take truckloads of crap and they pile it and they let it dry. And that's what we're going to smell. These people are going to smell, not me. I'm standing here not for myself, but the people that live around the area. So I just want to say I'm against it. And if the governor's listening, let's put it in Cumberland.
I just want to say again for the record that I don't think that there's anyone here, whether you're down there or up here, that wants this in North Kingstown. We did not go to the governor. We did not go to DEM. We did not go to any of these other agencies and say, please put this here in North Kingstown. The two appointed reps from North Kingstown on the QDC Board of Directors and another Board of Director member voted against this. Okay? We were outvoted on this proposal.
And not only that, you were outvoted in executive session. So, okay, while the IT department's tending to that, I'm going to call Sean Conray. I think it's Edward Cunney, 155 Edmund Ave. Fran Slade, Tom Segoras, Walter Berry. And if you can get in line, I'd appreciate it. We all set?
Test.
Perfect. So should they have to move the microphone? Holly Quinn, sorry. So
social media, maybe?
So
cheeky. Holly Quinn, 109 Clearview Drive. So I wanted to speak because, as you guys can tell, the frustration, there's a lot of frustration, and I express it online, I express it here, I express it in emails. We don't always get responses back when we send emails. So it gets even more frustrating. And then there comes social media. Well, we know that everybody pays attention to social media, so we post a lot on social media. When we post on social media, it's in comments to, I liken these guys too, I'm their boss, they work for me, they were elected, it's not personal. A comment was made to me the other day, and it has in the past too, that others have accused me of being personal about my comments. It's not. It's based on job performance, that's all it is. I put it on social media because that's where everybody posts and pays attention to. So when somebody posts on there about how they feel about something, about a job that's being done, or comments on the town, that's based on your job. It's not personal. And you shouldn't make it personal back to other people. Nobody should. So, thank you. So what I wanted to bring up was, everybody keeps going, I've heard it a few times now, is how did we get here? How did we get here? And my big speech for I don't know how many years, when I do come, and do I come every time? Nope. But do I speak up? Absolutely. It's all about transparency, and we don't get that. We haven't gotten that. It was part of what tried to be a movement a few years ago to rotate this, to get new blood up here, because they've become too complacent. It just is, and they just don't really pay attention to what we say and do. I tried. Give me credit, but I tried. 1 minute I'm getting in trouble because I speak too much, and the next minute somebody's making comments because I don't say enough. The town council is not my thing. I don't feel confident or comfortable enough to run. That's all I can say. For those that keep saying run, I don't feel comfortable enough. I applaud you guys for running. However, that doesn't mean that I'm going to like everything you say and do. I'm glad you have all showed up. I hope you guys keep coming, because this is what it's about, is transparency. And how did we get here? This is how we got here. And if they don't want to tell us things, they're not going to tell us things. I have to tell you the three letters, between the letter that the solicitor sent, the letter, the resolution letter, and the third one that came out today. None of them make me warm and fuzzy that there's a definite stop to this. It's all, well, we want them to meet with you guys. We think there might be people are complaining of a smell. It's all aimed back at us and what we've discussed. Nothing comes from you guys to say, you know what, I agree with you. We smell it. We don't want it here any more than you guys want it here. So in the letter, there's words that are like alluding to, well, if they come back and say it's safe, listen, guys, we did the best we could. We did what we had to, and they're going to come on through with it. So there's nothing warm and fuzzy about it. And Julie, Representative Casmero, I'm sorry, no disrespect. I appreciate you. For the short time that you were given this and get to you, you've done a lot and you've made a lot of movement, and I appreciate that. I just hope, like the rest of us, you really go after QDC and hold everybody accountable for who's allowing this to happen. And I will say one more time, and I know President Mancini already spoke to it, I'm not on the Our Town page. I'm just not. So it was sent to me today, the post that was on there about Mr. McCoy, and it was said, did you see this comment from the discussion on November 24th when McCoy voted no on the sludge plant was during public time, not executive session. Now, he just admitted he misspoke. But that being said, it was said during public comment. It was said openly. Has anybody questioned, including the town council, since that date, like, hey, what was that? I'm just saying, stay tuned, stay in touch, keep this going, keep showing up. If we have to get together as groups and attend meetings, each attend a meeting and report back, we tried this before. A lot of people showed up with emails, and then everybody trickled off. We need transparency. It's the only thing that's going to save us. And we have to make that happen. Vanessa, Ricky, whomever, you guys have to make this happen because they're not going to give it to us freely. Thank you.
Liz Powers.
Hi, Liz Powers, 56 Chestnut Road, and I've been a resident of North Kingstown for 58 years. Julie, great job. I don't even know you, but I'm calling you Julie. Like, everything everybody has said tonight was amazing, and I agree with every single person that's been up here. Is that good? Oh, thank you. Thank you. I guess the last thing I would want to add is about, are you McCoy? Yeah, it would be with you, so. Well, no, this is serious, right? So this executive QDC board, it reminds me of some, like, Netflix movie with, like Stranger Things, where all the bad people were. And it's like, so you...
Could you talk into the mic, ma'am?
So you sit behind this executive board and they say, this is what, like, what if they said we were going to put a nuclear reactor in? So you just hold that information in for 2.5 years. You don't tell your wife. You don't tell your buddy at the gym. You don't send an anonymous...
That wouldn't be an executive session.
Yeah, well, but I mean, like, why couldn't he send an anonymous...
There are specific reasons inscribed in law, very narrow reasons that you can go into executive session.
So then he quits the town council, but wouldn't you want to warn people?
So again, he is limited by what's in state law under the Open Meetings Act.
Okay, so how about an anonymous letter to the town council saying, I was in Dunkin' Donuts the other day and I overheard someone talking about this paralysis plant? It's an anonymous letter. At least we would have known. We would have been like, what is that? And it would have been 2.5 years ago. And this wouldn't be happening. But you know what? I'm glad this is happening because Julie, again, is going to get this QDC board. We do need, I mean, when you go to vote, aren't you like, it's 7-4 every time? I was looking at past meeting minutes, and it's unanimous for years. There's not even split votes. So does anybody ever vote against anything?
Yeah, he did on that one.
And does it matter? Does it matter? If it's 7-4, will it ever matter?
You're right. That's
right.
true. That is true.
All right. That's all I have to say.
Could I respond to? Okay.
I don't think you need to. Randy Wheatman.
Randy Wheatman, 40 Sanford Avenue. I've been a resident here for about 35 years, raised my 2 daughters here. In November of 2024, the land lease was signed for this project, the QSS project. Larry Mandel and Matt McCoy were the members on QSS or QDC at that point. I should point out, if you didn't know already, these 2 gentlemen voted against it. If you're wondering who the second person in the QDC is these days, it's me. I'm that guy. I wasn't on the board when this lease was approved, but if I was on the board, I would have disapproved it along with Matt and Larry for a number of reasons, most of which you've already heard tonight. Proof of concept, I would not have been, still not comfortable with that. I would like to see an operation, potentially, if it gets to that, on a small scale so that we see how this operates. I would like to see it operated somewhere else in the country. This technology, this particular technology, as I understand it, exists in only 2 other locations in the country. That in itself is a bit problematic. I would like to see that this is a technology that has proven itself over time. I'm not comfortable that we have that. An emergency response plan. Nobody has talked about that. The manufacturers of this technology will tell you that it's fail-safe, et cetera, et cetera. But with 30 years in the Navy, you have to have an emergency response plan when things go south, and I haven't heard that. Details like chain of command. When things go south, who is notified, who responds, exactly. Not just general, but exactly. How exactly does that happen? It's critically important. And then lastly, thank you for everybody up here and the representatives over there for bringing this, putting the heat to this thing and making this a big issue. I applaud all those efforts. I don't want this thing here either. But what can we do now, going forward, right now? And with the town manager's permission and the town council, what I'd like to see is a liaison. We stopped doing liaisons with boards and commissions a few years ago, I think it was, something like that. In this particular case, I see of no better example than for QDC. We should have a liaison with QDC. I can be that liaison, or anybody else that you decide to be that liaison, but I think under the circumstances and with the sorts of things that we do at QDC, it's critically important that this information gets to you. I heard at the last meeting last Monday, this is the first we heard of it. Well, that's a problem, isn't it? I don't want that going forward, so we should have that liaison. That's my pitch for that. And then lastly, I'll reiterate the importance of something that has been brought up before, and that is, on something like this, North Kingstown has a lot of skin in the game. Isn't that clear? And if we're only 2 out of 11 members, as you pointed out, we'll get upvoted. My feeling is we should have, just a swag here, but we should have
wrap it up, Randy, okay?
At least, yes, at least 4 members on the board.
Thank you, Randy.
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
You can't, as a board member, you can't be a liaison because you vote. Correct, Ralph?
A liaison is someone who sits on a board in an advisory capacity and does not vote. You are
Does
correct.
not vote. So
You are correct.
can Randy be a liaison?
I would, again, my opinion would be that he would have to step away from the board and then be the town's liaison. There's a board member and then there's a liaison.
Yeah, I wouldn't get caught. I wouldn't get caught up on the liaison name. We will figure out a function.
I understand that. I'm saying that I am right now saying I'm offering to be a liaison. If it comes down to that, we can do that. I can become a liaison.
Okay.
President Mancini, if I can just speak for 1 second. I just wanted to address, there's been some terminology used that has indicated that a lease has actually been signed between QSS Biosolids and Quonset, and I just want to say that in our many conversations this week, we have confirmed with Quonset and with the Secretary of Commerce, who is the board president of Quonset, a lease has not been signed. This is not a done deal. And so that vote that was taken around moving forward with the project, there is not a lease that has been executed, and I think that that's important for people to understand that this project is not too far down the road to be stopped.
And I would point out that in our proposed resolution, we're asking QDC to rescind the lease. Based on the meeting minutes that Matt talked about, I had thought that they had entered into the lease. But nevertheless, I think that's good news. I had heard that also earlier today. But that is news we heard after we drafted our resolution. Anyways, I'm going to move on to other people who want to speak, and then we can get into the details of what we want to do as a council. I appreciate everyone's patience for staying here this long. It's a lot of public comment. A lot of people want to be heard, and we certainly want to hear them. Jan McAleer.
Jan McAleer, 830 10 Rod Road. I am a member of the Conservation Commission, but the views are my
You
own.
might want to bring that down a little bit so people, make sure people can hear you.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, as I said, I am a member of the Conservation Commission, but I'm here on my own capacity. There have been a lot of good speakers already, so I'll sum up quickly. It sounds like a real estate thing, location, location, location. This is a bad location for a lot of reasons.
Right.
It's on for population growth. There's a lot of density there. A lot of people can be affected, both the residents and the workers at Quonset, if something goes wrong. Environmentally, it's very sensitive too. It's the aquifer. It's close to the bay. It's a fragile environment. It's not the right place for any of this. I dug into Moss Landing just out of curiosity. They had to evacuate a 2-mile radius of people within a 2-mile radius of Moss Landing had to be evacuated. They just plop 2 miles each side of Quonset down onto your mental map. That's a lot of people, plus the people that are working there. I understand that technology is improving. Moss Landing was obviously a learning experience, and we don't want to be the learning experience for the next one. Am I doing this wrong? Anyway, that's it. Thank you. It should be vetted, and it should be studied and vetted, and I'll get taller. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Barbara Gavin?
Good evening. My name is Barbara Gavin, and I reside at 91 Surrey Lane, North Kingstown. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I am here to express serious concerns about the proposed pyrolysis facility and its potential impact on both public health and property values in our community. Research has shown that communities located near wastewater treatment facilities can experience increased exposure to air pollutants, including hydrogen sulfide and other emissions that are associated with respiratory irritation, headaches, and other significantly negative health outcomes related to water contamination. Even when facilities meet regulatory standards, studies consistently highlight the real lived impacts of persistent odors and perceived environmental risk on community well-being and health outcomes. From an economic standpoint, multiple studies have demonstrated that proximity to wastewater and similar industrial facilities can reduce residential property values. Buyers are often less willing to invest in areas where there are concerns about odor, environmental quality, or long-term health risks. For homeowners like us, this is not abstract. It directly affects equity, financial stability, and generational wealth. There is also an important equity consideration. Infrastructure projects like this have historically been sited in or near communities with less power to influence decisions. It is critical that we ensure this process does not repeat those patterns and that resident voices are meaningfully centered. I urge this council to require a comprehensive, independent health and environmental impact assessment, fully evaluate property value impacts through a credible third-party analysis, ensure transparent ongoing communications with residents, an improved permitting process and accountability, and seriously consider alternative locations or mitigation strategies. This decision will have long-term consequences. It is essential that public health, community stability, and transparency are prioritized alongside our infrastructure needs. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Edmund Cunny. Is that right? Or, did I miss somebody? No. You were lined up behind somebody else. Edmund Cunny. Thank you.
Good evening.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you folks.
Just speak into the
Thank
microphone
you folks for coming.
and just say your name and address. And we want
My name is Edward Cunny, C-U-N-N-I-E. Rhymes with money.
It's easy to remember it that way. I
Just
live
give
at
us your-
155 Edmund Drive, within yards of the fence, and I have great concerns with this project. I'd like to ask Mr. McCoy a simple question. When was the first time you heard about the sludge treatment potential move to Quonset?
I voted on the project on November 19th, 2024.
That's the first time you heard about it?
No, I think you heard about it beforehand, right? With the executive session, other meetings?
I will not talk about what transpired in executive session at QDC Board of Directors meetings.
Okay.
I am a manager, a business manager, and I know that things occur, a sequence of events. Someone comes up with an idea, and then he tells somebody else about it, and then somebody else, and then it starts to gather a little momentum, and then finally it's brought into daylight. At that point, they go into a little more details, what's entailed about it. Where is it going to be? What's the square footage? How many people? Things like this, all the economics involved with it. I don't think that happened on November 10th, 2024.
So, sir, if I may, I will say to you, on the Quonset, I looked through the previous Quonset agendas, and there was, I think, in the July meeting and in the August meeting, there might have been, I think there was agenda items for executive session. Mm-hmm. And it was concealed by what they said, according to Round Law, we can discuss XYZ items, like what type of items, not the name of the items. So even though he won't talk about it, I suspect you're right. It's not one meeting and you adopt it right away, but I think there were previous meetings in executive session in which this was discussed. But as Mr. McCoy indicated, you know, he's not going to discuss what happened because he's duty bound, not discuss what happened in executive session. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay. So at that point, when it finally took shape, you served two masters. It's kind of difficult position you're in, both being on the board at QDC and here at North Kingstown. When did you share what was going to happen with the North Kingstown board?
Sir, it's my failing in that I did an inadequate job of keeping my fellow town councilors informed. So I accept responsibility and accountability for that. That failure rests solely with me.
But I would say that it's not a failure. It was not a failure in the sense that he believed that he could not disclose the information because it was executive session. That's the issue.
I would just think that you would probably want to make the town or Kingstown aware of this at the earliest possible convenience.
I don't disagree.
Number one. Number two, that was, again, more than 2 years ago, I believe, based on normal timelines.
Yeah. So
I'd like to address the
so
technique involved.
We just got to move this along, so if you could just wrap it up, that'd be great. I'm trying to get everyone to speak, sir.
Pyrolysis isn't really what it's cracked up to be. We lived in Pittsburgh before we moved here. In '76, we've been here for 50 years, probably more than most people in this room. In Pittsburgh, they make steel, and to make steel, they use coal. But they can't use raw coal. They have to bake it. They bake it out, and it's called pyrolysis. They pull a coal car in, close the doors, they raise the temperature without oxygen, so coal doesn't catch fire. But it outgasses something terrible, sulfur, in the case of coal. Now, we all remember our high school chemistry, hydrogen sulfide. Well, coal puts out sulfur dioxide, which is the first cousin of that, which is rotten eggs. And you could smell it. And we were told that no, Allegheny Steel, U.S. Steel, was going to clear up this problem. Never did. So guess what? We moved out, we moved to North Kingstown, and we're getting into another pyrolysis issue. It's not fall-proof. I've read where around the country there's numerous installations where the pyrolysis process just does not work. And the process are being shut down. And I just don't want us to be another experimental situation.
That's why we're here today, sir. We don't want it either.
Okay? So that's all I want to say.
Thank you.
From a technical aspect, I think it's doomed to failure.
Thank you.
Batteries, by the way, real quick. I understand the total KW value, I'm told, will last about 5 hours on the total load, as in the case of a snowstorm, which we just had. I think that lasted a little more than 5 hours, and I think we lost power a little more than 5 hours. So that's going to be an interesting opportunity also. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sean Connery.
Thank you all. Thank you for coming in this emergency session. My father was a Marine, and my sister was born in Camp Lejeune. Tarawa Terrace was where we spent the first couple of years, or I spent my first couple of years of my life. Then we were stationed at Otis Air Force Base, another Superfund site. Now I live in North Kingstown, 67 Longfellow Drive, and the Superfund site was cleaned. However, now the pyrolysis plant, the lithium battery plant, and the asphalt plant. This is not what I signed up for. My kids play lacrosse in Quonset with hundreds and hundreds of other kids every single weekend. You know, say there's a fire, and I agree with what everyone said before. Say there's a fire, okay? There was a test done by the state in California after their fire that took weeks to subdue, and of course they could not use water to subdue the fire. There were some tests done by the state, at least from what I read on NPR, and anyone can read the same thing that I read today, just so I had a little information. They did a test. They did deep soil samples, which, of course, is diluted. The San Jose State, some independent researchers found levels of the 3 heavy metals hundreds to thousands of times greater just before the fire. So to say, it's fine, we don't have to tell anyone about this and what plants are coming in. I thought that there was a Quonset, give me 1 second, yeah, I heard that. But there's supposed to be a Quonset Development Corporation, North Kingstown Community Advisory Committee. Does that exist anymore? Do you know? No.
I've only seen reference of that on the state's website for minutes and meetings, but I have never heard of any individuals being appointed or any meetings being held.
Right, and that's probably because the last meeting minutes, and this, I just looked this up just to be like, oh, there's no way they're gonna do this underground here like this. Well, the last meeting was June 6, 2007. That's almost 20 years ago. Is that what they think of us, to give us our $10 million for the town? How much does QDC make there? And why are they giving us such a pittance? They're gonna, if there's a disaster, who's gonna pay? The bio company, that's an LLC, limited liability. What are we going to do about that? Nothing. They just fold up shop, and here you go. Clean up the mess, North Kingstown. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. I mean, these are the questions that we need to ask. These are serious questions, and I have young kids. A lot of these people have grandkids and young kids, and it's beyond me. I mean, Does QDC own the water line, the ocean line? Do they own it? Because you're talking about putting that same factory that burnt down in California, polluted the entire area, is right next to the golf course, which is right next to the ocean. Because there's a hole where you see the ocean and it's nice and beautiful. But when there's a disaster, you're going to evacuate all those people. All that land is going to be ruined forever. You have people that work there. We like to play golf there. I mean, what are we doing here? Anyways, my name's Sean. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean. Fran Slade.
My name is Frances Slade. I live at Walter Drive. I've been a resident of this town for 42 years. I've been involved in many, many applications of environmental applications at Quonset, and more so in water that concerns this town. Years back, we sold to the QDC well number 11, which the town no longer needed. We had well number 10 across the street. Years have passed. Quonset developed that well into different methods of use. It's still strictly water, but the town now shares that same well point with QDC. I have followed the minerals, all the chemicals, and the different materials that are in their well reports. And we are in a very serious situation of a crisis of only one well point that is shared by both. If that well goes down or our aquifer becomes contaminated, we will not have water, nor will Quonset. And there goes all the jobs at Quonset, because there'll be no fresh, clean water for them. Something must be done to stop this, or both Quonset and us will be in very serious trouble with our water situation. I would ask the governor personally to ask Mr. King to resign, take his pension and go. If not, please fire him.
So I'm going to ask Clint Finley or Ficarola from 696 Fletcher Road, Frank Vogel, Nadine Swanson, Walter Ashuson, and Pamela Pinero to come get in line over there if they would. And the next speaker is Mr. Tom Seguros.
Hi, my name is Tom Seguros. I live at 15 Boston Neck Road. I guess my role is to provide some variety tonight, and I'd like to speak to, because I'm concerned that there's a baby going to be thrown out with the sludge. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to speak in support of the battery storage facility that's coming up. I was quite pleased to see that proposal, and I'm kind of worried that it's going to become a victim of everything else. I'm pleased to see it. I'm pleased to see that it is placed where the Revolution Wind power is coming ashore. That's what will make it the most effective. It'll make it the most effective aid to the Revolution Wind. It'll make it the most likely to make that power a useful component of our town's and our state's power mix. The lithium iron phosphate technology that's used in the batteries is not actually, is related to, but it's not actually the same as the lithium ion batteries that explode so often in e-bikes and cars and things like that. Because you don't have to worry about the weight and the bulk, you don't have to make the same compromises, same engineering compromises that make those batteries a risk. You also don't risk having a crash with them, which is where most of the risk of the thermal runaway that starts fires comes from. I mean, that said, lithium is not something that you take casually, and this is a big facility. Making sure the emergency response plans are solid is going to be important, but I think that they are well within the reach of the town's fire department and well within the reach of QDC to ensure. I have noticed that in a lot of cases people take climate concerns as sort of optional, and I think that it's time for that to pass. It's time for us to get over that and to start taking this really seriously, and I think that's especially true for a coastal community like ours. I mean, my house is threatened by rising sea level, and I think that's true of a large number of houses in this town. And I think that it's high time, it's long past time for us to be taking it seriously, and backing a project like this is, I think, an important way to decarbonize our electric power and to try to make some inroads into that issue. So that's my 2 bits. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Walter Barry. Thank you, Tom. Walter Barry.
Hi, Walter Berry, 83 Brookside Drive, North Kingstown. So thank you for letting us all speak tonight, and thank you all for being here. So I'm here tonight wearing a number of metaphorical hats and one physical one. As a trained facilitator, I recognize that the placement of a plant like this is what is referred to as a wicked problem. That is a problem that doesn't really have a good solution. There is no good place to put these things, right? There's no good place to put these things, but there are a lot of worse places, maybe, than this one, right? So that's what we're talking about, okay? As a resident of Davisville, I have concerns about my property values and the smell that the plants come when the wind is from the south. I am literally being asked to bet my house on this technology, right? And that doesn't make me comfortable. As a member of the executive board of the Land Conservancy of North Kingstown, I'm worried about the water in our sole source aquifer and the input that my properties get when the wind is from the north. So I get it coming and going. As a former member of the Concerned Citizens of Davisville, I'm angry about the apparent environmental justice of putting multiple noxious facilities in close proximity to several subsidized housing developments, right? This is another gift from the state to the north end of the town. But the physical hat that I'm wearing tonight is as a retired toxicologist and water quality scientist at EPA for 40 years. As a scientist, the words unproven technology keep me up at night, okay? So I will give you one quick analogy. So many of us here, some of us maybe are not as proud of it as we might be, do a lot of internet shopping, right? Does anybody do internet shopping here, right? So you don't have to say who you get it from, right? So when I do that, I very carefully read the reviews. And so if I see a product that has 4.5 stars, then that looks pretty good. So then if you start to look at the reviews, and so let's say there are 10 reviews, and you read the first 9, and they say things like, it came really quickly, just like it was supposed to. Or, I love the color of the box, right? Or, we've all seen these, right, as you get to that. And then you get to the last 1-star review that says, I wore the shoes and they fell apart the first time. So the 4.5 stars needs a little more investigation, right? So this is all I'm asking of you, of us here, is that we actually think about these technologies. What I read in the paper today about the 3 plants that are now using this technology, if I have this right, 2 of them have operational problems. The 3rd is not using for another issue. I don't know as I want to be the 4th. So I'll leave you with the technical terminology As a scientist for all of these plants, they stink. So, thank you.
Frank Vogel, please. Frank Vogel.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Frank Vogel. I live at 121 Briarbrook Drive, and I've been a North Kingstown resident for 33 years this May, and I love this town. I've raised all three of my kids here. I'm vested, just like I'm sure many of you people in the audience are. So I'm going to make this quick. I've only got like some comments to make, and then maybe a couple of points of information. So first of all, it was just shocking to me, and I'm sure most of you, that how the town council and the residents could be so blindsided by how these projects have moved forward without really, information and input from us. It's amazing. I mean, it's like, the left hand of the government doesn't know what the right hand's doing. It's difficult to understand. But I was first informed of this by my wife, who's a teacher in North Kingstown, and, they talk about North Kingstown stuff all the time. But so I came here with interest on the asphalt plant. I worked with DEM for about 10 years, not in air resources, but in underground storage tanks. But I know that petroleum releases can be extremely damaging, to the groundwater, and of course, petroleum type fumes are obviously dangerous and can be toxic. As far as about notice, I know in DEM they've had, when there's going to be a permit meeting, they're required to give public notice, and they just post it on the SOS, Secretary of State page. Nobody reads that. Who out here goes to the Secretary of State page? Oh, I wonder what permit's going to be out there today. They don't do it. So I thought, it should be like important permits. Why doesn't QDC have to give notice to the council, and then maybe that could get back to the residents? That's just, but I forgot which member said that we're all going to try to have a sitting rep. I appreciate the efforts you did there. The other thing is, in my research real quick, I found out that one of the products of asphalt production is H2S. I didn't know that. That's hydrogen sulfide, that stinky gas, and that's extremely toxic too. And maybe it's masked by some of the asphalt fumes, but that's another thing that's obviously a consideration. The other thing that I read, and here's a point of information, unless my internet's wrong, is that Bitumar lease, I understand, is 4-year temporary lease, if I'm not mistaken. So to me, and it says right there that until they find a permanent site. So that means we've got 4 years to fight this. I mean, that's what I'm just reading it as. I just thought that maybe the people should know that. That's what it says, 4-year temporary lease. So we don't want to, maybe the worst would be we'd get 4 years. So it's obvious that all three of these projects have not been properly vetted, not given proper, public notice, and I think the town, we need to rise up. That you're showing that already, and we need your best efforts to help us do that. And that's all I'm requesting. That's it.
You're going to get them. Okay. I'd ask Kevin Hoyle, Jim Simmons, Mark D'Souza, David Maelli to line up, and anybody else who hasn't spoken. We've been here for 2 hours, and I'm just going to, we're just going to move along. We're not going to take a break, I think, unless anyone here wants to. I think we just move along. We'll hear the rest of public comment and deliberate. Yes, Senator DiMario.
Thank you. Sorry, just as we're waiting for the next speakers to come up, I just wanted to hit upon a few things. One is, a number of people have kind of made reference to the idea of what, permitting coming before the town council, and I do think it's important to clarify that permits that are being requested for projects that are happening at Quonset, the way that system works, they would not come before the town council. And that is one of the reasons why myself and my colleagues from the General Assembly are here, because we are the ones that would have the authority to change how some of that permitting could potentially work. And the other thing that I did want to note, just because I have been monitoring some of the emails and requests for communication that we've had, out there is that the Department of Environmental Management is going to be putting up a website that includes information not only on the permits that have been requested and the status of those permits for the biosolids facility, but also around the enforcement actions and other communication around the both asphalt plants that have been under communication. So that will be something that will be publicly available for everybody to see, and we'll make sure that that gets disseminated when it's available.
Thank you, Senator. I was going to touch on that after the public comment, but I'm glad you did now. Nadine Thompson.
Hello, my name is Nadine Swanson. I live at 540 School Street. I'm here mostly, well, about all of these things. Living on School Street, I took a ride the other day over to the proposed sewer sludge plant. It's 1 mile exactly to my house, and that's driving. So I'm certain that the way the crow flies, it would be way less than that. I woke up yesterday morning to the lovely smell of asphalt. That is not how I want to spend any of my mornings, certainly not a Sunday morning. I've lived in my home for 28 years. The house next door was my aunt and uncle's. I spent every weekend there as a child. He was a CB. I know all about Quonset. All the crazy things that happened down there back then. And when they moved out and QDC kind of moved in, they assured us that they were going to do everything possible to do the right thing down there and to not poison us more than they've already poisoned us, because we know that they have poisoned this town. There's, it's a, whatever they call it, a super whatever dump down there. I just don't think it's so densely populated. We have so many children, I'm just mimicking what everybody else said, because everybody that has spoken the truth, and this does not belong here. It should not have been allowed. Maybe the permit has not been given, but going down there and seeing these 2 giant concrete slabs that look like the foundation of what they say, because it said there was going to be 2 concrete slabs, and they're already there, so the permit hasn't been given, but yet they're working on it. And I know that something's going on with the DOT, because I know there's all kinds of construction going on there, and I don't follow it anymore, because the concerned citizens of Davisville, I gave up with that 20 years ago, because I'm tired of forming a committee to form a committee to form a committee, and nothing ever really gets done. The governor needs to be told, and it needs to be stopped now. I don't want to wait and fix it after the fact, because we don't fix anything after the fact, and we're all screwed because of it. I want my home to maintain some kind of value. I don't like driving down 95. There's that place where there's some kind of sewage thing. And whenever we go down 95, my kids always held their nose. Now we're going to live in a town where we have to hold our nose all the time? It's disgusting. So thank you, Julie, for what you're doing. Thank all of you for what you're doing. Make it stop, because this, and thank you for making it be here and not just at the town hall, because the town hall's too small. And if we did it on a Saturday, we could pull out the other 5,000 elderly people who don't come out at night and who don't go on social media. And I got all kinds of things today saying, did you see the paper? Because it must have been in the journal, So please make it stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadine. Did I miss Clint Ficola? Is he there? Clint from 696 Fletcher Road? Okay, we're going to move on then. Okay, Walter Anusian. Walter Anusian from 118 Village Hill Lane. Okay. Pam Panero. I see Pam.
Pam Panero, 710 Slocum Road. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. Many residents have spoken thoughtfully about the specific concerns related to these facilities and the potential impacts it may have on our town. I support and agree with the importance of examining those issues carefully. I will take another route. Because I don't believe any of you meant to end up in the situation we are in tonight, I do have a sincere question for each of you that I hope you will answer. Hindsight is 20/20. Self-reflection is important to help regain trust in the community. Is there anything you wish you could have done differently or should have done differently in the past 2 years that we would not have ended up here tonight?
Sure, you can answer that.
So as I stated earlier, I accept responsibility for my actions and inactions. I am accountable for not keeping my fellow town councilors appropriately informed of the things that I could have, and in retrospect, I would have done a better job of that. So, my apologies.
So, as far as me, I'll let others go too, but as far as me, it's tough to do something differently when you don't know. We did not know this. As soon as we know it, within a week, we called this hearing. So I don't know what I could have done differently, only because I didn't know. So I don't know if you want to comment yourself.
I've been on the council for less than a year and a half, so when this happened, I wasn't on the council, so I'm not sure, put on the spot what I would have done, I guess. Perhaps requesting reports from Quonset, and I think that will, change going forward and should improve some things.
You want to hear from me, Pam?
Yes.
I offered to be on the board back last year, was it February? I forgot, when Randy was put on, and they didn't want me, they wanted Randy. So I guess before that time it was town council people, but at that time, it was one town council person and one resident. So my regrets are not mine.
Well, I don't think that I knew anything about this until we had Vanessa Piscaro come up and tell us about the smell. And then it certainly didn't know about the other things until just recently. If we could have done something differently, if we had known, yes, we would have made a lot of changes.
And Mr. President, if I may, also, and I think it's a great question. I was going to actually mention something at the end, so I think it's a great question that we all give our best effort. Let me preface my remarks by saying that my family lives in the North End, so this is important to me personally. I've lived here for 14 years, been manager for 9.5, and I feel I give a 101% in everything I do, so this is very important to me professionally. To Matt McCoy's defense, after every single QDC meeting, he walks in my office and gives me the booklet from that meeting. After every meeting, to his defense. And by going through the book, which I always do, when I saw that 2 council members voted against something, I think that probably required a little more research on my part. I talk to Steve King once a month on things in Quonset. And so realizing that 2 council members voted against something should have got my attention. And I should have asked Steve, what's going on here? I see my 2 council members voted no. Every month he comes to my office and gives me that book. So absolutely, I think that in retrospect, looking back in November of 2024 or December or January of 2025, whenever I saw that book and seeing they voted against it, I should have done a lot more research to find out what that was. So to his defense, he does do that every single month.
Okay. You all set?
No. It absolutely boggles my mind how most of the people on this stage did not know about this issue until last week. To me, that is just a huge problem. So I would like to see going forward some real action about how we can avoid this in the future. I've heard a few things tonight, but I seriously think there could be more. How can the public be notified earlier about projects with significant community impact? We all know you can post a lot of things, but you can also bury the public in thousands of pages of documents. That's not transparency. What standards should trigger proactive communication and public engagement? And I think the word standards is important. What standards should trigger proactive communication and public engagement? How can coordination between agencies, Quonset leadership, and local officials be strengthened? And what safeguards can be put in place to ensure transparency is the default, not the exception? This is an opportunity to learn from this situation and put better practices in place so that residents are informed sooner, communication is clearer, and confidence in the process is strengthened and regained. I do really sincerely thank you for telling me what you could do to improve. That's important for who answered that question. Thank you.
Kevin Hoyle.
Hello, I'm Kevin Hoyle. I live at 44 Poplar Avenue.
And for the record, I'm also running for the House of Representatives seat in North Kingstown. I started doing some research. I do a lot of research. I go to school. I have 3 master's degrees, so I'm pretty good at doing research. And when I was digging into the Bitumar issue, I wondered why the movement of that location never came before the council, the board of directors there. And what I found was surprising. It doesn't have to.
Right.
It doesn't have to at all. Because, and nobody has mentioned this, but in June 2025, the board was basically invalidated. All of their powers were stripped away for the most part. If I can read directly from the meeting minutes, section 9D, it says, the chair, the vice chair, the managing director, the finance director shall have sole and absolute discretion and without approval from the board being required to enter into, execute, deliver, amend, extend, or terminate real estate leases having a term of equal to or less than 5 years. Furthermore, QDC got power and control over all real estate agreements. They can, so it's 5 years they can give a lease, but they can extend it. So it's basically forever, okay? They have all renewals, terminations, extensions. They have control over delinquent payments terms. They have control over to manage and implement the budget completely, manage all financial assets, manage grants, manage all lease equipment. They can hire and terminate staff, and they can select and manage contractors. That's a lot. And that came in June of 2025. The board still retains the ability to hold meetings and vote, but for no reason, because it doesn't have to be carried forward. They can establish a governance committee. For what? Okay. They can make suggestions on how to use cash flow. They can establish bylaws, and they determine the managing director's salary. That's it. That's it. So that needs to change. That's not good. I know Representative Casimiro, you brought up that they betrayed our trust, and some other people talked about honesty and transparency. Well, basically, any decision can be made by those 4 people, and they can delegate it. They can say, "Hey, you make the decision on it." It's crazy how much power they have given themselves. With no board meetings for these decisions, because they don't need a board meeting to make a decision. There's no meetings, no meeting minutes, and then there's no transparency as a result of it. So we've lost all of our transparency. And furthermore, it goes, what they're currently doing goes against their bylaws, section 2.17 of the QDC bylaws, and against Rhode Island General Law 4264.10.7, which states powers of the QDC are vested in the board of directors. That's it. Thank you.
Jim Sammons.
Jim Sammons, Hamilton Allison Road. I'm heartened by the energy of the room to head off the development of the pyrolysis plants before they are built. In 2026, the Trump administration exempted a whole series of heavy polluters from the provisions of the Clean Air Act. But more important to us, they've targeted the so-called good neighbors provisions that include downwind contaminations. We do not want to wind up like the Jersey Flats of the 1960s.
Thank you. Mark D'Souza.
Hey, Mark D'Souza, 66 Hamilton Allington Road. So, don't want to beat a dead horse. We all know QSS Solid's bad. Nobody wants it. You guys don't want it now. We don't want it. I think it has come out, and it will come out, as to whether or not things were private or, would you say, executive council?
I said executive
public,
session.
Executive session or public, right? That's gonna come out. We know that. Rep. Casimiro, thank you for everything that you did. What I would just, after the last guy just got up here and everything, What I would ask is that you go back to the speaker and you call for the immediate stoppage of this executive council. Because you can sit here and go, well, how are we going to know? We're not going to know if it's an executive council, clearly.
The speaker wants me to call him as soon as I leave here.
Say that again?
The speaker wants me to call him as soon as I leave here.
Oh, yeah, please do. That's the only way that this is going to stop. That's the only way. And QSS solids, it all ties in with the deepest, yeah. We know.
Okay. David Maielli.
Members of the Town Council, Manager Mollis, representatives and senators from North Kingstown, and members of the community, although it's a dwindling crowd. My name is David Maielli. I'm a resident at 150 Wickford Point Road. I'm also, I want to disclose, a corporate attorney for Citizens Bank, but I'm not here representing citizens. I'm obviously here as a very concerned North Kingstown resident. I actually had some specific recommendations regarding the proposed resolution. I was under the impression that the lease had been signed, and there are definitely legal issues with trying to have QDC rescind a lease because it opens them up for litigation. I'm heartened by the fact that the lease has not been signed. That's
when I drafted it.
I understand. I understand, but I'm heartened by that fact because it's very hard to rescind a lease. So some of my comments actually are moot now because I was also going to suggest that as an alternative to rescinding the lease, they temporarily halt any pre-construction, planning, development, or anything.
And it's stopping the project in its, as it is right now until there's more public disclosure.
Understand. I was focusing on what's called the prayer for relief, which is the last paragraph of the resolution. That's when you're asking them to do something. So I'd be happy you have my card to continue to be involved in this process.
That'd be great.
Lastly, I strongly support the town council hiring an experienced environmental attorney. This will send a clear and unequivocal message to QSS Biosolids that we mean business in fighting this facility being located in North Kingstown. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't have anybody else who signed up, so if you just want to come up in the order you're there, that'd be great. Just give us your name and address, and we'll go from there. Looks like we get for everyone else.
Hi, I'm Mary Shaw, 159 Candlewood Drive. I had the privilege of speaking last time we met, only I really wanted to be last, but there's a few other people, so I'll try to be short. I've had difficulty with Stephen King, and I think now he thinks of himself as a king since about 2013. About 2016, we discovered 40 mounds of dirt, 2 and 3 stories high, 80 feet from our house. But it was industrial grade. It wasn't toxic. Our house looked like the Dust Bowls of the 1930s. We had doctor letters sent to Stephen King. We begged him. My husband's health was frail. Well, he developed, in about 2016, we didn't know that the mounds of dirt were there. We felt pretty foolish. But there was enough vegetation, and we were busy, and I was traveling, and he wasn't wearing his hearing aids. Do you know how many truckloads of dirt have to be used to make 40 mounds of dirt, 2 and 3 stories high, and the ramps that have to be built up? Well, they said they would fix it. They brought a surveyor on the back deck of my house, and we will put a barrier so you will no longer see the lights that look like Fenway Park that requires you to have blackout curtains all the way around the house so you can sleep. So you won't hear all the loads of the cars from NORAD. The port has our port has a special designation because it was military, that people, these big freighters that come in to the port, are not inspected. Because when it was a military, no one would expect the port to be checked out. And what I am totally amazed about, I haven't heard one word of acknowledgement that QDC is a Superfund. It is still a Superfund. Every June, there is a meeting of RAD, which is about the remediation effect that they are doing. I'm 77. I saw my husband die in front of me. He was tethered to a 100-foot plastic tube to a compressor for the last year of his life. He couldn't leave the house. He developed severe COPD from finite dust. Finite dust is so light you don't even see it. It goes into your lungs. It's like pieces of glass. And the only thing you can do to mitigate it is lung transplants. And he was old. So what I realized, my husband, the Navy still owns a good portion of the land. Some of it I found out, I was devastated to find out, is now being turned over to QDC. The Navy will still always be responsible for the pollution. But guess what, guys? They're not taking care of it. They're covering it up with asphalt. So Dave Moran is the private owner of the company that ships all these cars. They bring the freighters in. Now, I'm laughing because I can see this in my backyard. All these vehicles covered in white. Now, I'm not going to insinuate, but I would laugh. I have a bizarre sense of humor. I have an identical twin. Luckily, she's got the same sense of humor. I went, what a perfect gimmick. These cars are coming from all over the place, the trucks and etc. I wonder what's underneath the plastic. And guess what, guys? They have security guards.
Mr. Shaw,
they carry guns. So what I want to say is, don't forget that Quonset is a Superfund. Once in June of every year, there is a meeting. So I go, and it was like the Wizard of Oz. I'm the only one there. There's no technical brochures. There is no people. Usually there's hydrologists, scientists, etc. I'm the only one. And there was two ladies fooling around with a computer to try to get something on a screen.
Mrs. Shaw, could you just move it along?
So I'm going to wrap it up by saying there is a plume of poisonous substance 60 feet in bedrock that nobody acknowledges. It's just now starting to leak into Allen's Harbor. And the EPA lady, before she retired, sent a letter, I knew she was going to retire, to town council saying, hey, you know, guys, there's still this plume of highly toxic substance that we don't know what we're going to do with. Going into, it might be 15 years, it might be 25 years, it might be 50 years. So you're talking about things that are going to happen, but you're not paying attention. Go on the base and you will see mounds after mounds after mounds of piles of dirt, and they don't have to do anything. They don't have to cover it because the construction laws are something about if they're moving their dirt around within 18 months, they don't have to cover it. So they don't discriminate. My husband and I are collateral damage. Military's used to collateral damage. The daycare, they don't discriminate.
Mr. Shaw, I'd ask you to wrap it up.
So pay attention, but pay attention now. What's happening to that piles of dirt? So when you start going, that's not the pollen, folks. Thank you for listening.
Sir, your name's not here, so if you want to come on up. Who's ever next in line? This is my home. Oh, good. Who's ever next is going to speak.
My husband deceased almost 4 years, but he sent the special guy in my life.
Oh, good.
And I am wearing a ring. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening. Thank you for the council for the work you're doing on this. I hope you continue to push on it and see if you can stop the sludge plant. Mary,
So
Mary
could you
and her
just say,
husband live
can
on-
you just give us your name and address, sir?
Please?
Your name and address.
Oh, William Gates. I live in 79 Green Meadows Circle, which is basically in the backyard of the damn sludge plant. The distance from my house to 401K, the highway, is roughly the same as it is from 401K to the sludge plant. I can walk there with a bad arthritic hip. I bought that house in 1965. My kids grew up there. I'm getting rather old, and I'm thinking, geez, I'd like to give the house to the kids because I've got a whole bunch of grandkids that they could use it for someplace. At any rate, the reason I'm speaking tonight is I was shocked when I heard that this could affect the aquifer. And if I'm not mistaken, Hunts River is the aquifer.
Yes.
Hunts River is the it's the town line between us and East Greenwich, and it's not far from that thing. If you look at from where I was down there Sunday, if you look from where the sludge plant is going to Old Baptist Road, Hunts River, part of it runs parallel to Old Baptist Road. I don't know, maybe a half a mile away. I'm guessing at the distance, but that's the reason I wanted to bring that up. If we lose the aquifer, we might as well move someplace else. Just as an example, they've been cleaning up the bay for 20 years. There's a place in the bay that I could go today with a pitchfork and dig a bushel of clams in 15 or 20 minutes. You can't touch them because the Quonset site, if you look up, it's right at Allen's Harbor. It's supposed to be capped, but I don't know how long that'll last. At any rate, thank you for your attention to this. Keep pushing on it. And let me keep my house for a little longer. Will you, please?
We're going to try, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Holly Morin. I live at 15 Keats Drive. And thank you for giving people who didn't sign up a chance to say something. I honestly waited because I knew a lot of great things were going to be shared and I didn't want to repeat them. I want to also commend Representative Casimiro for her work. You and I actually sat together in Forest Park. You were there for a career day, and your tenacity on this issue makes me super proud that you talked to our kids that day, and I really commend you. The one thing or two things I want to point out as somebody who has dug into this, I kind of get a little bit hyper-focused, is that one, when you look at the permits, the two permits that exist right now that Quonset has posted for the minor air source or air pollution, one for Quonset biosolids and the other one for Quonset soil solutions. When you look at them in the structures that are being proposed, they are drastically different. And from what I understand is that Quonset biosolids has stated that Quonset soil solutions, which is the one that is incinerating or using pyrolysis to break down forestry byproducts into biochar. The facilities themselves are different. When you look at the language in the two permits, what is proposed to be built, what was built in Compass, and what is being proposed at the Davisville site are different. Also, I don't know how you use one as a proof of concept when it's using pyrolysis for forestry byproducts to then be a proof of concept for potential human waste processing. The other thing I want to point out is when you look at both of those permits, whether it be Quonset Soil Solutions or it's Quonset Biosolids, which everyone keeps using those companies, those LLCs, there's one name that is consistent across both of them, and that needs to be entered into the record, because everybody keeps talking about Steve King and Q2C and this and that. It's Mark Pasquale, or Di Pasquale, who is the head and CEO and founder of Green Environmental, who runs all of the solar and all of the wind turbines that are based out of Quonset. If you currently go on that website for that company, there is zero about pyrolysis. There is zero about anything to do with either of those companies. They tout their wind turbines, they tout their solar fields. And all of us know that Mr. Pasquale or Di Pasquale, or however you say his name, I'm from southeastern Mass, not Rhode Island originally, he's not necessarily the best person with his permits. So I caution you, and if you're bringing people into the conversation, please also include him. Thank you.
Thank you. Step up, young man.
Hello, everyone. I'm Martin Cook. I attend Davisville Middle School. I'm in 8th grade. I'm more speaking for, well, all the kids in my grade and go to middle school. I'm on the cross-country team, played basketball, and I played baseball for 3 years for Davisville. And I also walk home a mile home from school to my house. I live at 93 Brookside Drive. What is it going to do to affect my health with this plant? Yeah, and also if you haven't noticed, when we switched the location of the plant, how many more schools are being affected? I understand there's Davisville Middle School, which is the big one. You have Davisville Academy that's really close to me and way closer to the plant. You have West Bay Christian Academy that's still there. And I don't know how far this is going to affect, but a majority of our elementary schools are still located near there. And I just want to know what it's going to affect and how it's going to affect people in the future.
Thank you. So who's ever next behind the grid there, if anyone else wants to come up and say anything else? Looks like we're done. Does anyone else want to speak? Okay.
Oh, you got one back here.
I'd rather not. I'd rather, because it's been a long night of public speaking. If someone new wants to speak, fine, but I'd rather keep it to people who haven't spoken.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for being here. I am originally from South America. I came here when I was 10 years old, not North Kingston.
You can just give us your name and address, ma'am.
36 Worsley Avenue.
And your name is? I didn't hear
Carmen Barrientos.
Thank you, Carmen.
I'll make it really quick. But I did all my studies in this country, the land of opportunity, and I'm so grateful to be here. I came here with the military, came to Newport. I'm a dentist. I am a Navy captain. I don't represent the Navy right now, but I'm telling you that I chose North Kingston because I got the opportunity to travel the world and to see what a great country, but especially this whole area. A beautiful up-and-coming community, businesses. I saw that this was a place for me and for my kids. My two sons, engineers, one in New York, one in Boston, they both want to come back here to North Kingston. I just opened up a dental practice, and because I love it here, and from the medical point of view, I was told, do not open up a business there. We are the lowest reimbursement rate. There's so many problems here in Rhode Island. I had the opportunity to go to many other parts of this country, but I chose to be here because I love it here. I see the great future here. And I ask you, please, to consider this for the future of our children and for the future of the new businesses in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So I appreciate everybody. I think we all, I'm sorry, not me, but I think we all appreciate everybody's robust public comment. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. Somebody in the audience or came up here said tonight that he didn't sign up for this. And we feel the same way. Right now, we're trying to figure out how to deal with the fallout of another agency's decision that was completed in executive session and that's adversely affecting the North Kingstown community. And I hope the people of that committee and that board are watching right now to see how mad we are not getting our say in that decision. Because we didn't get a say. And it wasn't in an open session. Now, before we go on to possible action, I don't know if anyone here wants to say anything. If not, we have on the agenda possible action for the town council. We updated you on Bitumar. We updated you on the barrage storage facility. And now we're going to discuss the other two. The last item, QSS biosolids. Rep. Casimiro and Senator Mario talked about the study commission at the State House. Rep. Casimiro or Senator Tamaro, do you want to add any other, or Rep. Craven, do you want to add any other possible new legislative initiatives that that can be done? I mean, I know I don't want to put you on the spot, but I mean, we heard a lot of testimony. Obviously, something needs to happen outside of our jurisdiction, and I know we're off to a great start, and I appreciate that. So.
Well, I think the request by Representative Casimiro of the Speaker to have an oversight committee hearing on this would give us the opportunity to do what we did with the DOT on the Washington Bridge, put it on television and make them answer questions under hot lights. So.
Okay.
Councilman, I just would also add that at that oversight hearing, more legislative ideas might come out. So.
Okay. All right. Senator DeMario, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, thank you. Just briefly, I want to respond to a lot of the sentiment that was expressed tonight around the idea of, why didn't we know, and why did it take people raising this issue and us having to look into it for something to be done. And I just want to acknowledge that that is the reality of a lot of times how we work. Sometimes we are able to proactively look at something that might be coming down the road. I will mention again that, the study commission to look at what are we going to do with the state's wastewater problem is a conversation that has been a long time coming. That is more of a proactive thing that we've been trying to do. The unfortunate thing, though, is that sometimes the holes in our regulations and in the way that communication happens and in the way that requirements are set out only become apparent when a problem arises. And so then we do have to be reactive. We have to listen to the points that are made by people. We have to take action when these problems are raised to us. And that is a lot of what you've been seeing over the past week. So this is absolutely not a case of we had to be convinced that this was the wrong thing. We had to know first that it was happening, and once that happened, we were all of us really immediately unified in opposition to this project. So I can't stress enough the fact that, all of these different options that we are pursuing, some of them are going to be generated by the problems and the holes in our system that have been raised by all of you in looking deeper into this process. And that is something that we absolutely are reacting and responding to, and I would expect that that list will grow as more and more information comes out about some of the gaps in that process. So thank you all again for your time and for your attention, and also for bringing all of your ideas forward tonight.
Yes, thank you, Senator. Good explanation. We appreciate it. Does anyone on the council have anything to add on legislation?
I do.
Good.
It is very important for the citizens of this town to be able to trust the people that they have elected to represent them, either whether it be on the town council or as appointed members of quasi-governmental agencies like the Quonset Development Corporation Board of Directors. I was in the Navy for 23 years. I learned about accountability, responsibility, and authority. And I believe that accountability is paramount. You have a right to trust your government. I am accountable for my actions and inactions. I accept full responsibility for the things that I have done and not done. I will tell you with full confidence that every vote that I took representing you on the Quonset Development Board of Directors, I took with a clear conscience of being in your best interest. As I stated earlier, I voted against this proposal. What I did wrong was not promptly and completely keeping my peers informed, the member of the public informed, our elected officials informed, and that's on me. And for that, you should be justly angry with me. So I accept responsibility and accountability for that. And as per this meeting, I am resigning from my appointed position as the town's representative on the Quonset Development Board of Directors. This will give the town council the opportunity to appoint a new person to represent us and to help us in this fight towards keeping this project from our town. This is not something that I wanted in our town. I know it's not something that Larry Mandel wanted in our town. I'm pretty certain, based on Mr. Wheatman's comments, that it's not something that he wants in this town. And I don't believe it's anything that anybody up here or out there wants in the town. So like I said, I'm willing to accept responsibility for my actions. I'd like to see people like Managing Director Stephen King step up and accept responsibility for his actions. I'd like to see the leadership of the DEM, who oversees the permitting, step up and take responsibility for their actions. I would like to see the governor and his folks step up and take responsibility for their actions, okay? We obviously have a problem with sewage and wastewater in our state, but rushing headlong into a solution based on an unproven technology is not the answer. It needs to be done in a thoughtful, deliberate, well-researched way. And what we have today is not that way. And, so I'm in full agreement, as I read things on social media and people's comments and I listen to you, I'm angry too, okay? I'm upset with the process. Anyway, you have my sincerest apologies for my actions and my inactions. And I think that what we need to do as a town, as a state, is figure out where we are, move forward, and nip this in the bud before it becomes a 25 or 50-year problem for the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you for your service to the community. And we all know you did it with certainly the best of intentions. We know you also put your heart and soul into it. Okay, I think we don't have to talk anything more about legislation. I had drafted a proposed resolution. I'm not going to read it because it is lengthy. It is a public record. I would read the last paragraph. I don't know if, given the fact there's no lease now, I don't know if we want to delete that or just let it go, James, just in case there could be a lease.
Greg, I would suggest that you approve an amendment of the resolution, include proper language regarding the lease approval or the approval that was given, not the lease itself, since it wasn't signed.
Okay, so approved by the Quonset board, I guess, November 19th, 2024. All right, for everyone who, let me just read this. I'm going to read the now therefore paragraph. It's a lengthy 2-page resolution that kind of outlines Quonset's statutory authority, which in part includes Quonset was established to foster and maintain an effective working relationship with its host and surrounding communities. And it goes into the fact that Quonset has, or does give the town $10 million a year in annual tax revenue. And it talks about Quonset and North Kingstown having shared goals. And then it talks about the vote on November 19th, 2024. And then it goes on to say a couple other things, but in closing, now therefore, due to a lack of transparent process and potential harmful effects, the North Kingstown Town Council hereby respectfully requests the request that QDC rescind its vote on November 19th, 2024 for that authorize the managing director to enter into a ground lease with QSS Biosolids, LLC, until such time that it holds public hearings that informs the public about this, how this proposed Paralis facility will affect the health, safety, and well-being of the citizens of North Kingstown. I think this is a start for resolution, and then we'll certainly be monitoring this issue. I think from the last meeting on the 23rd till now, I think there's a lot of action. We got a letter from the governor. We got commission from the speaker. So I think there'll continue to be a lot of action. But anyways, with that, I entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance unless you feel otherwise.
So James, I'll make the motion to approve it, but what do I specifically need to state to include the amended language?
The motion is amended by President Mancini.
Yeah.
All right, so I would make a motion to accept the motion as amended by President Mancini.
And do we have a second?
Second.
All right. We'll take a roll call vote, so if that's okay. Do you want to say anything? No. Okay. Well, I don't think we need a roll call. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Now, other possible action, I think some people talked about hiring legal counsel. Senator Mario talked about hiring legal counsel. And I'm going to suggest that this body authorize the town manager to look into hiring expert environmental legal counsel in the profit sector, nonprofit sector, whatever makes sense. There was a proposal by an individual here that says there's a nonprofit organization, national nonprofit organization. I know that there's also a number of qualified local environmental lawyers that we could look at also. So I entertain a motion to have the town manager research that and get back to us.
I would make that motion. We've done this before when we had the PFAS matter, and that we went out and got specific legal counsel for that, and we're now getting part of the settlement from the PFAS. So yes, I would second.
Thank you.
Make the motion.
And we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Is there any other possible action that we can do right now on the council? We'll be reporting back on town council meetings. We are. Yes, it's on our. It's always on our website. We have an update letter that goes right in the front of the website, and then we post it on our town Facebook page.
Can I see a show of hands of how many people here subscribe to the North Kingstown Notes? How many view the North Kingstown official Facebook page? All right. Both of those exist. If you do not, then I would suggest you sign up.
Can I ask, is there any way to get this information out to people? Because not everybody does this. So what about all the people that don't?
So we get it on notes and then our Facebook page, and I know you share everything on your page.
But they don't know that. So is there something we can send to all the residents?
Town
that
manager?
Says,
I don't know. Can we?
Know what's going on.
So I'm open to suggestions. I can say that I'm hearing that a lot of people are here this evening because they followed this issue on social media. And so I would encourage everyone, in addition to whatever platforms you're following, as Councilperson McCoy just mentioned, to please follow the North Kingstown Facebook and social media platforms, as well as something we instituted about a year ago called North Kingstown Notes. And we send a wealth of information out to residents. We send it to you. So by you signing up for it, you'll get an email from us, and it'll give you the North Kingstown Notes. So it's not something you have to do. We send it to you, as you're mentioning. So that's the best way to, because again, the only other way is for us to send a mass mailing every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, and that would mean that the entire town would be getting that. And you can all imagine that that could be, again, I'm not sure if that's the right way to communicate, and someone can correct me. So at this point, I would encourage you to follow our very active social media platforms, and please sign up for North Kingstown Notes, and then I'll work with the council and make a point that somewhere in those notes will continuously update you on this particular issue.
That covers these people. That doesn't cover everybody else. So how many people did you figure tonight?
I'd say over 300 were here.
And how many people live in this town?
28,000 and 11,000
But don't we get
households.
the puddle? Don't we all get the puddle because we all have a, you don't get the water bill?
One at a time.
So what is
Sorry,
your
you saying?
suggestion?
Hold on one second, Ralph. Kim was speaking.
I was going to say, we all get the puddle,
Yes.
our water bill, and in our water bill, it tells us about this too. So it is difficult to get information out. The town sends it out. Sometimes people don't always read everything that gets sent out.
Does everyone get the puddle? I don't get the puddle.
And let me also say, again, those that, and I guess two things, and you can interrupt me at any time. Number one is, obviously information's getting, three things. Obviously information's getting out there, because this is the first time in many, many years we've had this type of attendance at a meeting. So information is getting out there. So that's number one. Number two is, the goal now is action. So with all due respect to anyone, not here because you're here, who may not get the information, because of the audience here and all of us here at the dais, we will be acting to make sure that this doesn't happen in North Kingstown. And then the third thing is, other than that, social media, a non-town social media, North Kingstown notes, action by the council, action by the General Assembly, action by the administration. Do you have another suggestion?
Well, like Dick Welch said, who I don't know who the business was that knew nothing about this.
That's not what I asked. I asked, what is your suggestion?
I think that something needs to go out to all of the residents. That
In what manner?
A letter, a card, something small, one time. Not every month,
But
one
one-
time,
but-
that says, sign up here, look here, go to this, giving everybody what they need to know to follow the information. If they don't, they don't. And of course, they're not all going to. But at least then people know how to do it.
So what we
I
will
don't get
do
the
is,
puddle.
well, okay, I have some ideas I can run by the council.
I was going to say, in the past, I know Ralph has done this when we get our tax bill.
Yes.
Because we all get a tax bill, and in the tax bill, you
exactly right.
said in there as to how to sign up for these things too. So again, we can do this again. It's not, I'm saying that it's not perfect, but it is the sort of thing, we're open to suggestions and we can do more. But we have done it and we can do it again.
I think it's also important to point out that there's a huge community that was built around this issue, and community spreads information as well. So if any of you or at home watching, or folks who were here earlier, know somebody who's not on social media, as some people aren't, or may not pay close attention to, I don't know, their water bill maybe, tell them. That's the point of community. We have a wonderful community. Speak to your fellow community members to inform them and let them know what's going on and where they can find more information if they want to keep getting updated. I think that's a really important aspect of communication in a community like ours.
Well said. So we're out of public comment. I know someone said something from the audience. What were you going to say, sir? Okay. Thank you. Well, I think we'll start with some sort of mailing within the tax bill and or water bill. And, so I'll tell you what, we'll start with that. If someone's got other suggestions, we're happy to take other suggestions. You can email us other suggestions. It is a challenge to get information out, but as Elena just said, the sense of community is why we've got so many people here today.
Please email the suggestions.
So, thank you, Beth. Is there any other possible action this town can do, this council can do right now to thwart these issues, particularly the sludge facility? We have done that, but we continue to do that.
Mr. President, also at the council's direction, and I've already started, but at the council's direction, I'll be meeting with the managers of Jamestown and East Greenwich.
I think that's a great idea.
And I'll also be responding to this letter, and in this letter, I'll mention that the town council passed a resolution. I'll be giving them a copy of that resolution to let them know that it's not a case of us looking to negotiate, it's a case of us wanting to stop things. So I'll let them know that.
Okay, that's fine.
Mr. President?
Yes.
So I would say one action that I'm willing to take is if and when legislation is introduced in the General Assembly for the reform of the Quonset Development Corp. As a former member of the board of director, I am willing to go and offer my testimony on what I think are the necessary improvements and reforms.
All right. I think that's great, Matt. So I think we have a start. This is a very small start, and I think we have a start, and we will go from there. And I mean, I know you're up there, but I just want to offer my help. Do you want me to help you find some technical people to do this if you want to change it? Well, I think what we'll do there is I was hoping our lawyer would be able to figure that out. So I'll have our lawyer speak with you. No, yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that, Dick. Okay. Thank you. Again, robust public input today. We really appreciate it. It's been a lot of public comment, but tonight is just a start. So, and I suspect there'll be additional announcements, hopefully from the state, on these projects. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.